You may begin.
I'm sorry, you broke up. Did you say?
Oh, you may begin.
All right, thank you. The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Present.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Present.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans.
Present.
Alderman Page.
Present.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Present.
Alderman Coder.
Here.
Alderwoman Rice.
Present.
Alderman Gunther.
Here.
Alderman Balmer.
Present.
Alderwoman Martin.
Present.
Alderman Stevens.
Here.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Present.
Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green.
Present.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Peel.
Here.
Alderman Todd.
Present.
Alderwoman Davis.
Present.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Here.
Alderman Muhammad.
Here.
Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro.
Present.
Alderman Narayan.
Here.
Alderman Cone.
Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Here.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Present.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Present.
President Reed.
Here.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Howard. Alderman Oldenburg.
Here.
Alderman Boyd. 26 present, you have quorum.
A quorum being present, we are blessed today to be led in prayer by our very own John Watson Jr., Maple Temple, our resident pastor. John, are you, Reverend Watson, are you there?
Yes, can you see me?
Oh, there we go. Yes, yes. I was nervous for a second. I said we didn't see. It's good to see you back, and we appreciate you. We missed you those couple meetings.
God bless you. God bless you. We thank God for you all. Those that would will be with us, we ask you to bow your hearts at this time. We're going to quote from the Holy Scriptures, Isaiah 9:6. For unto us a child is born. For unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Almighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Gracious God, Heavenly Father, as we, as a community nearing the ending of another year, we pause and give thanks for the progress we made toward the uplifting, leading, and serving this great city of ours. In this season, we acknowledge that you gave first. You've continued to provide the consolation we've needed as decision makers, the strength of heart to carry out those decisions. And now, Almighty God, allow the elected officials and their families to experience peace in their homes and in their lives, and allow this community to experience peace throughout the city. We thank you for this time, and we ask God that you will continue to bless all of us, and into your arms we commit our families, our community, ourselves. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Watson. Let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you. Thank you for being there for us for all these years, Reverend.
You all be safe over this holiday season, and God bless you all.
All right. God bless you too, Reverend. We will suspend with our regular order of business to take up our courtesy resolutions calendar. But before we do that, Alderman from the 27th, you have, you would like to make a motion to suspend the rules for introduction.
Yes, Mr. President.
Please proceed.
I would, okay, thank you. Yes, Mr. President, I would like to suspend the rules to put resolution 149 on the calendar, please.
All right.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderman from 27th and seconded.
Second.
I missed that again. Who?
16th.
Seconded by the Alderman from the 16th. That we suspend the rules for purposes of introducing courtesy resolution 149. Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus,
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
Alderman Bosley, Alderwoman Evans,
Aye.
Alderman Page,
Aye.
Alderwoman Negracia,
Aye.
Alderman Coder, Alderwoman Rice,
Aye.
Alderman Gunther,
Aye.
Alderman Balmer,
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin, Alderman Stevens,
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer,
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Green,
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg,
Aye.
Alderwoman Peel,
Aye.
Alderman Todd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis,
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer,
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad,
Aye.
Alderman Boyd, Alderman Vaccaro,
Aye.
Alderman Orion, Alderman Cone,
Aye.
Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye. Sorry.
Thank you.
Turn the mute button.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro,
Aye.
President Reed,
Aye.
Alderman Bosley,
Aye.
Alderman Coder,
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin, Alderwoman Howard, Alderman Boyd. 26 aye votes.
I vote to sustain the motion of the Alderman from the 27th to suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing courtesy resolution 149. Madam Clerk, please place courtesy resolution 149 at the very end of our courtesy resolutions calendar.
So noted.
Alderwoman from the 19th, you recognize on the motion for our courtesy resolutions calendar.
Mr. President and members of the board, I move that we adopt our courtesy resolution calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 19th. Entertain a second on that motion.
Second.
Seconded by the Alderwoman from the 4th. Alderwoman from the 26th, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I wanted to see if I could yield my first time to one of the other courtesy resolutions that's on the calendar.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 13th.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. President, members of the board, and thank you to my colleague from the 26th. That's very gracious. So today I have the pleasure to present a resolution to St. Mary's High School for their state football championship win on December 4th. This football team not only won the game 56-0, the largest margin in state football championship history, but they're also men of service. And I have seen them doing doing projects in the Dutchtown neighborhood. St. Mary's is not only an incredible athletic organization, but also an incredible academic and service organization in our community as well. So I'm very proud to present this resolution to them today. And today here to accept, we have President of St. Mary's, Mike England, and also the Athletic Director, Tony DeToli, to accept. And if it's all right with the President, I'd love for them to say a few words about this achievement, if it's all right with you.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, wonderful. All right, Mike, President England, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Schweitzer. A bit nervous speaking to this group. Thank you for putting this together and for this recognition of our school, and also to recognize that you know, we're more than just what we accomplished on the football field. We're very proud of our young men and what we do in the community. We're very proud of being here in the city. We're very proud of doing whatever we can to be a part of, I always like to say, moving the needle in the positive direction in the city. And so I appreciate this opportunity to thank this group for this resolution, and also to communicate to the group that we are always here, willing and able and ready to help in any way that we can to support your efforts on behalf of the city of St. Louis, because we love the city of St. Louis. And a big part of our pride in this state championship is bringing a state championship to the city. Only 3 high schools on the Missouri, on the western side of the state, were able to win state championships, but the only one from the city is St. Mary's High School, and we are very proud of that. So thank you very much for this resolution and for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Oh, you're welcome, and congratulations. Congratulations so much to you. Alderman from the 13th, I see a number of aldermen's hands up, so I'd like to go to them, and then we'll come back to your other speakers.
I don't know if Mike, is Tony wanting to speak, or are you all set?
If I could, I'd like to say just a few words.
Oh, wonderful. We'd love for you. Well, actually, I think Mr. President said he wanted to let.
Go ahead, Tony.
Thank you.
Mr. Reed, thank you. I'll make mine really quick. I just want to say that I'm very proud of St. Mary's High School. I graduated there in 1988. I'm also very proud to represent the city of St. Louis. I grew up in the Dutchtown neighborhood, so it's very, very, very much of a very happy time for me, a very proud moment for me of being a lifelong city resident, and the fact that we've been able to represent and show everybody in the St. Louis metropolitan region what we can do on the south side and what we can do in the city of St. Louis. So we're very proud of that. And as Mike always talks about, we're part of this community for a reason. It's the bigger mission, and it's to make the city of St. Louis have a gleaming moment for all of us. So thank you for the recognition. It is truly a compliment, and appreciate everything that you all do.
All right. Hey, Tony, for everyone here, could you tell us your title and everything?
I am the athletic director over at St. Mary's High School. I've been here for 8 years. I was blessed to be presented the chance to be the athletic director by Mike when he came in. I am proud to say that I have 6 sons that have graduated from St. Mary's, and my 7th one is there now.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's a blessing by itself. And before we move on for the other aldermen that are about to speak, Mike, can you fill in a little bit more of your background and connection with
Yeah, I am the president. I've been the president here for 9 years at St. Mary's High School. It's been 9 of the best years of my career because of the people that I have the opportunity to work with, such as Tony. We have a wonderful, wonderful principal, Valerie Todd, who just does an incredible job. Our head coach, Ken Turner, I would like to recognize him as well. He would be on this call, but he is in the Lake of the Ozarks at the All-State football meeting. And so he needs to be there to make sure all of our young men get all the recognition that can come their way. We are very committed here at St. Mary's to not only having the highest quality school that we can, and we've done a lot in working and growing and developing our 27-acre campus, but also being very involved in the community. For 8 years, we've done a day of service where we go out into the neighborhood, shut school down, and the entire school community goes out and we pick up trash and cut grass and pull weeds. We've done that for the last 8 years. We also have been very instrumental in the beginning of the nonprofit, the St. Joseph Housing Initiative. They have their offices here at St. Mary's, and we are purchasing homes around St. Mary's, renovating them to the highest standard, new roof, new HVAC, new appliances. We provide $5,000 down payment assistance to all of our families, and we sell them to low and moderate income families that have never had the opportunity to be a homeowner, allowing them to hopefully build up their own personal wealth and equity that can change their economic future as they move forward. We are currently working on our 12th house. The organization has been moving forward for the last 4 years, and we're very proud of that effort as well. So as I said before, my focus is not just on St. Mary's High School. My focus is on our Dutchtown neighborhood and the city of St. Louis, and what St. Mary's can do to help all of you in your efforts to make St. Louis continue to move forward and become the St. Louis that we all want to see it become.
All right, thank you. Thank you, President England. We appreciate you. All right, so Alderman from the 21st.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, as an alum of St. Mary's, graduating in 2009, I would like to motion that we pass this resolution in bank.
Second.
Second.
And moved by the Alderman from the 21st, seconded by, I think it's the Alderman.
25th.
The 25th, but there was another, was it?
26th.
26th and Alderman of the 25th. Alderman 25th, I heard yours. You jumped in there right away. So that we amend this resolution in bank. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Create another copy of this resolution in bank for President England and also Tony, the athletic director. What that means is that all of the aldermen have asked that their names be added to your resolution. It's a huge honor. So we're going to take some more discussion from other members of the board, and then maybe give you or the sponsor an opportunity to close. We have Alderman from the 25th. Alderman from the 25th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to make sure that the Alderman from the 21st was finished with his remarks.
Oh, yes, I believe he is.
Okay.
We'll come back to him, but right now his video is on.
Sure. I just want to extend a huge congratulations and just thank you to Mike, to Tony, to all of the faculty and staff at St. Mary's High School. When I first got elected 13 years ago, the high school was in the 25th ward. It was redistricted into the 13th ward, and Mike became president. And I remember our first meeting discussing, the future of the high school and how they can integrate themselves better into our neighborhood and into our community and city. And, he's just been a wonderful thought partner, a wonderful leader of the school, and a tremendous asset to our community here in Dutchtown. And, he highlighted just a few of the initiatives that St. Mary's has been a wonderful partner, and making things come to life and happening here in Dutchtown. But I have to say, as someone who has been out, with the students and faculty on, the days of service, it's so invigorating to see the energy and the positivity that St. Mary's is instilling in the young men that attend school there. And, I have to also commend Mike, not just on, his efforts to, better the lives of these students and improve our neighborhood, but improve the school as well. There's been millions of dollars of investment, over the last 9 years. And, I would like to say that, or like to think that, that investment has, paid dividends in this championship. with the new football field and the new baseball field, and hopefully a new soccer field coming in the future, on the campus at Grandin Delore over there. And I just, have to appreciate everything that you do. And certainly this run up to the championship, which we're recognizing the school for today, my neighbors were just as excited. The Friday night lights and the games that were going on and the fireworks, and I could hear the cheers from my house, on my back porch. I'm a block and a half away from the high school. And so the energy that was built up, as we led up to this championship, I was getting text messages and Facebook messages from neighbors who are just so excited to even drive down to Columbia and watch the championship finals play out. And so certainly when you all won a 0-sum game, in the final championship, all of Dutchtown was so proud of your students and your faculty, and just so proud that you guys are members of our Dutchtown community. I know I feel that way, Mike, but I hope the recognition today also lets you know that the rest of the city and the rest of this Board of Aldermen feel the same way. Your tireless efforts are just so, they're so appreciated in our community, and it means the world to me, not only as an alder person, but also as a neighbor. And so I really, I can't speak highly enough. And for those of you who aren't maybe familiar with St. Mary's, this is a school that's had its ups and downs over the years. But certainly the last, 9 to 15 years, we've done a tremendous amount of effort and, not only reinvigorating the school, but also reinvigorating the student body. Mike has had a firsthand approach and making sure that the student body reflects the diversity of the neighborhood around it as well. And so these are young people who are coming from every walk of life in our city. They very much reflect our community as a whole. And every year, every enrollment year, it only gets better and better. And so I cannot wait to see what happens in the future with this high school. I'm so proud of your accomplishments, and I'm so happy to be able to share in them with you today. Thank you so much, Mike, for everything.
All right, thank you, Mike. And Tony. Alderman from the 9th. We'll move on. Alderman from the 12th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I put my hand down for I was going to also motion and bank. Appreciate you, though.
All right, welcome. Alderman from the 14th.
Yes, I would like to commend Mr. England and Mr. Detoli on their achievement of this win. But not only that, they have continued the legacy of St. Mary's and Southside Catholic School that has been upheld. And I'm so proud that, my son is a graduate, my brother's a graduate. And, for a while, it was kind of weird whether the school would survive for a while. But it seems as though you've rallied and the school is strong. And as the alderman from the 25th said, it reflects the diversity of our neighborhood. As a lifelong St. Louis resident, we would be lost without the contributions that St. Mary's provides for our neighbors. And I think that being part of the St. Joseph's Housing Initiative bodes well for your lifelong and, in the Catholic and greater community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Alderman from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Really excited about this resolution today. Nice to see you, President England. I don't know if it's still the case, but when I was in high school, Notre Dame was the sister school of St. Mary's, and I spent many an evening at a football game at your campus. And so congratulations on this big win. And also thank you. I'm incredibly grateful for the work you do in your surrounding community, as also explained by the Alderman from the 25th. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Alderman from the 23rd.
Yes, congratulations. My grandson, actually, I'm getting that old, graduated from there. I'm sure he was a terror. and he did participate in plays over there, but I can't let it go by. I mean, 56-0, but 8 of the extra points were kicked by a 23rd Ward resident. So, Matthew Kemper, whose family is also very active, in scouts and everything. So I couldn't let it go by without, saying that. So congratulations to you guys, and a shout out to Matthew. Like I said, 56-0, but I do think them extra points did help anyway. God bless. Thank you, guys.
Right, thank you. Alderwoman from the 11th.
Thank you. I promise I'm pulled over here. I had to take my dragon
Alderwoman, you're breaking up.
on and congratulate, and also as a St. Mary's parent, my stepson was fortunate. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello.
We can now. We can. Yes, we can now.
Okay, sorry. I was saying I had to take my dragon alum to go somewhere, and I promise I'm pulled over. But as a parent, I just want to pile on. The school is just amazing. Congratulations to these young men. And my to do the game film and the Mizzou press box. That was very exciting. But
yeah, I think we just lost Alderman from 11. Alderman from the 24th, you had your hand up a little bit earlier. I want to make sure we didn't miss you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was going to make the same motion that the Alderman from the 21st did, but also just wanted to congratulate the coaches and the kids. I know it's a tough journey to make it all the way to a state championship, and then to have the kind of result that y'all did is incredible. So know that people all over the city are proud of you, proud of the kids, and hoping for a repeat next year. Thank you.
All right. And then the Alderman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. First, gentlemen, let me congratulate you on your leadership with these young men. I've had an opportunity to work with them, not only on their community projects, because they've been in Jeff Vanderloo neighborhood and others, working with our community to better it. But most especially, I want to share with everyone that these young men are prepared for life. I've been a judge on an ongoing opportunity for them that they've participated with the Society of Engineers. And they have been given tasks that are very difficult, creating a new city, creating a new mode of transportation, those type of things. And I tell you, they step up to the plate. They are incredible, and interacting with them, they know who they are. They have plans for their futures. They're serious about education. And I just want to thank you for giving us these young people when they leave your institution, because they're ready to be a part of society. And congratulations again. I wish I had been at that game. Thank you.
Right. Congratulations again.
Yes.
Alderman from the 21st. We were waiting for, we stalled and waited till you to get back since you were an alumni.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And I just like being rebellious. I'm texting my grandmother. So Alderwoman Howard, don't say I said this publicly, but we were joking about when I first met Mike England. It was actually at CBC High School. And I was put out of CBC High School for being a little troublemaker. And I ended up at St. Mary's. And 10 years later, here comes Mike England at St. Mary's as our new president. So we both ended up where we were supposed to be. I just wanted to say that.
All right. Congratulations. All right. So any further discussion? Alderman from 13th, would you like to say one more thing before I speak?
Yes, please. Thank you. I think it's very clear from the comments of my colleagues how much St. Mary's has touched our community, how just deeply rooted it is, not only within the members of this body, but within the entirety of the city of St. Louis. So just wanted to say congratulations again. Thank you so much for being in our community, in my ward in particular. I'm so proud. And thank you very much, Mr. President. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to just take a minute to thank St. Mary's for all that you do, not just with the youth that are there, but also your impact on the community as a whole. I can speak for two young men that I know have attended St. Mary's. One is still attending there, Andre Mountjoy, and also John Collins Muhammad. At one time, the youngest member ever to be elected at the Board of Aldermen, I believe. But we also have our historian here, Sharon Tyus, who may correct me on that a little bit later, because she will know for sure and when they were elected and what ward it was and alike. But Andre is on your wrestling squad now, a young man doing great. Known him since the day he was born. Also Bradley Mountjoy, who played football for you, knew him since the day he was born, and you all just did a tremendous job in molding them. And I want to tell you that the works that you put into these kids and helping lead them to this championship is going to affect them for the rest of their lives, because you've taught them about winning, and also losing, and the cost of winning, right? All of the work and the preparation and everything that they have to put in place to make that happen. So I want to thank you all for that. This resolution is highest honor the board has to give any organization, individual, and it's an official act of the board where we cement into our permanent records some of your many contributions up until this point. So that's what we're doing this morning. We're entering into the permanent record your story. All of that we've talked about today will be part of the permanent records of the city. So 100 or 200 years from now, when they read about the rebirth of that community in and around the area that St. Mary's operates, and they read about some of the successes and some of the young people that have come through St. Mary's, they'll be able to read your stories and know the contributions you made to this point. And that we paused in our deliberations today to assure that you were properly and duly recognized for it. So let's all join in a big round of applause and congratulations and thanks for a job well done.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all very much. This has been a wonderful, way beyond what I thought this would be. I'm very honored for the school and for your kind words and support. And as I said before, God bless all of you and your work. And please know we're here ready and willing to help with anything that you might need to help move our city forward in a good way on behalf of all of our people that live in the city of St. Louis. So thank you.
All right. Thank you all too.
Thank you.
I guess we'll go to the Alderwoman from the 27th.
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to say a few words in regards to the resolution, and if the clerk could read the resolution for me, I would appreciate it.
Okay, hey, Alderman from 27th, how about I go to the Alderman from 26 real quick and give you an opportunity to get to a better place, because your audio is breaking up really bad.
Okay, let me get out of my car.
All right, so we'll come back to you. Alderwoman from the 26th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. First of all, before I even get started, thank you, Alderwoman from 13, for that resolution. My phone was blowing up about that resolution. I have to announce, as everyone else announced, that the young man Chase, who's one of the star players on the team, he's from Corscourt Village, which of course is where my family from, but he is also still our beloved Congresswoman Maxine Waters, even though we claim her, even though she doesn't represent St. Louis, but we claim her. It's her great nephew, they said. So shout out to the family and shout out to St. Mary's for all they are doing. And they asked for a copy of the resolution, Alderwoman. So can you print an extra copy? But what I'm here for today, I think now more than ever, especially after our health committee meeting yesterday and Alderwoman Tyus and her resolution and the importance of making sure that our stories are told accurately, and that we protect them. And that's how we're going to protect our future, and making sure that we know and learn from our history, so that we can break these cycles and not make the same mistakes that we've been making before. I'm so honored to be able to present this resolution this morning to Damian Smith, Mr. Damian Smith. But before, I would ask the clerk if she could please read the resolution.
Madam Clerk, could you please read the resolution?
Resolution 146 honoring Damian D. Smith. Whereas St. Louis native Damian D. Smith is an accomplished director, producer, and actor whose film have won awards at numerous festivals. Whereas Damian D. Smith has acting credits in multiple series on the FX and USA networks. And whereas Damian D. Smith is now using his talents to shine a light on St. Louis with his documentary Target St. Louis Volume 1, which was screened as part of St. Louis International Film Festival. And whereas Target 1 St. Louis Volume 1 is an examination of a Cold War military experiment that took place at the Pruitt-Igoe Housing Project. And whereas Damian was motivated to tell his story in large part because of his grandmother, Sarah Barnes, who lived in the Pruitt-Igoe neighborhood. And whereas in this documentary, Damian tells the story of his grandmother and other former residents who were exposed to covert chemical testing, including questionable radioactive matter and zinc, cadmium sulfide in Pruitt-Igoe homes and neighboring communities in St. Louis following World War II. And whereas Target St. Louis Volume 1 has earned Damian a Best Documentary Feature win at the Urban Film Festival in New York City. And whereas Damian hopes that those who view his film will be inspired to use their talents and skills as method to shed light on environmental injustices. Whereas when a person has been so dedicated using his talent to expose injustices and inspire action, it's appropriate for the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis and the people of the City of St. Louis to pause and take note. Now, therefore, let it be resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that we pause in our deliberations to thank Damian D. Smith for his contributions to the St. Louis community. We further direct the clerk of this board to spread a copy of this resolution across the minutes of these proceedings and prepare a commemorative copy to the end that it may be presented to him at a place and time deemed appropriate by the sponsor. Introduced this 10th day of December, 2021 by the Honorable Shamim Clark Hubbard, 26th Ward Alderwoman. Dear clerk and board and committee, I fully support the City of St. Louis, Missouri and its governing body to officially recognize the creative talent of film director and St. Louisan Damian Smith for his extraordinary work on the documentary Target St. Louis Volume 1. Mr. Smith has provided an outstanding public and educational service to St. Louisans and to all Americans who viewed his film. Sincerely, Lisa Martino Taylor, PhD, Assistant Professor, Sociology, Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Please proceed, Alderwoman.
I was just overwhelmed because now you see why I'm so excited to be able to present and honor Mr. Smith. So myself, along with my colleague, Alderwoman from the 17th Ward, Sweet Tea Field, we attended the St. Louis Film Festival. And if you had seen this movie, if you had seen the audience, if you had been in the room, I see some other people. Senator Wright Jones was in the room with us that evening. It was so many people in the room, so much good energy. But the most exciting thing about this, again, is making sure that we protect and tell our stories to our children in a time when it's being manipulated and being used, sometimes even for personal gain. And to make sure that we correctly encourage people for doing things like this. Mr. Smith, his resume, clearly he could have left and never came back. But not only did he come back, he came back for the right reasons, to tell our story, to educate and empower our community with our story, so that, again, we can move forward and not make the same mistake. So I know my colleagues have their hands raised. I don't know if we want to go to them first, Mr. President, or to Mr. Smith and his speakers as well. It's up to you.
Whatever way, whichever direction you want to go on. We can.
Well, okay, I would say we go ahead and let Mr. Damien and his speakers speak.
All right. Mr. Smith, are you there with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're breaking up. What's the name of your other speakers that you have with you?
A very familiar name, Mr. Ben Phillips.
There's Ben Phillips. If Mr. Smith, we'll go to Mr. Phillips and come back to you. Hopefully you can get to a better location. Your audio will clean up a little bit. Ben Phillips, you're recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I got involved with this documentary roughly about 5 years ago. I too am a former resident of Pruitt-Igoe and was actually one of the ones that was poisoned by the federal government. I in turn, when I found out about what was going on through Dr. Martino, who just had the honor of recognizing Damien, I filed suit with in the federal courts. I was the original plaintiff against the Defense Department, Monsanto, Parsons Engineering, and the University of Stanford's Research Center, which is the largest endowment university in the country, more than Harvard and Yale and those places. My daughter called me one evening. Mike Bush was talking about this chemical spraying of Pruitt-Igoe, and it was a secret. They designed that it was after it was during the Cold War, and this spray they were putting in the air was supposed to be a defensive mechanism for not letting Russian fighters strike or bombers strike specific sites, like in St. Louis, the Gateway Arch or City Hall or the cathedral. But in turn, we found out through a lot of investigation that it was actually an offensive weapon where they were utilizing the Pruitt-Igoe housing development, which had structures very similar to Moscow and Leningrad and St. Petersburg. It was a stone brick penetrating poison that was actually being sprayed on the people of Pruitt-Igoe. My mother had just passed from cancer, and I thought, what was going on? Every funeral I went to was cancer related of people who lived in Pruitt-Igoe. So that's kind of led up to, and Miss Bourne actually worked for the city. Well, she didn't work for the city, she worked for Lutheran Ministry, but she was dealing with the workhouse at the time. And I knew Sarah personally, didn't know Damien was her grandson. So we decided to do this. And Sarah talked Damien into coming back, and he put together this great, fantastic documentary. Anyone who's seen it will be at awe. When we screened it at Washington University, there were tears. There were tears in the crowd after hearing and seeing some of the atrocities that were going on. So I highly recommend Mr. Damien. And he plans on doing something in St. Louis, planning on setting up shop in the city and running documentaries and some cultural type filming in the city of St. Louis. So with that, I'll stop talking.
Mr. Phillips, you earned talk as long as you want to talk. There's
some people on the panel probably saying, would you please shut Ben up? But thank you, Mr. President.
Oh, well, thank you, Ben. Just so all of you know, Ben and I go way, way back. It's been a while since I've seen you, and it's good to see you. And thank you for your words this morning. Damien, are you back with us?
You know, Damien is down in the Louisiana area between what was it, Baton Rouge and Louisiana, New Orleans. He's shooting some film, and I don't know
We also have Attorney Kistner, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. Yeah. Attorney Kistner, are you there?
Looks like I'm the
Yep,
Lone
yes, I
Ranger
am.
here.
There he is. There he is. Elkin, the floor is yours.
Well, I was just the lawyer who managed to lose a case. So I don't really, I can do that all week long. Ben contacted me in 2012. I started my legal career in the 1980s in the city councilor's office. I think Ben and I had met briefly then. I remember Ben calling me in 2012. I was in Kansas City with my wife visiting relatives, and he told me about this KSD news piece, and I frankly thought Ben was a very responsible, intelligent person. I knew him to be such, and I wondered what had gone wrong with him. I didn't believe what he was telling me. So I, after finding out that Lisa Martino Taylor had written her dissertation about it, I read it, got some other lawyers involved, and there are some other lawyers who have a very national practice, very prominent lawyers, arguably know what they're doing in this kind of area much more than I. And we assembled a team. It wasn't just Ben, Willis Lloyd. Ben introduced us to Willis Lloyd and Chester Deans, who also grew up in Pruitt-Igoe. They were the class representatives. We filed the lawsuit. Had lawyers from Louisiana, Kansas, several from the St. Louis area. It was a pretty solid team, I would think. Filed suit in federal, well, actually filed in state court. It was removed by the federal government to federal court. And then we ran into it was an array of immunities, the likes of which we had never seen. Suffice to say that we got thrown out of court without any opportunity to conduct discovery. The immunities not only insulated the federal government, its various branches, including the military branches, from discovery, but it protected all contractors who were doing work for the federal government in this, what has to be characterized as a pretty scary, insidious program that, by the way, wasn't just limited to Pruitt-Igoe. Pruitt-Igoe primarily was the, I think, exclusive focus in the 1950s, but it reared its ugly head again, more or less across St. Louis in the 1960s. And I want to mention that we were able to conduct enough research. A lot was attributable to what Lisa Martino Taylor had done. But it is clear that the federal government never determined what the health effects were for this widespread spraying of zinc cadmium sulfide was. And the federal government actually recommended, in response to some inquiries, that further analysis be done, some sort of determination be made as to whether there were adverse health consequences as a result of this secretive spraying of a dangerous substance. And I think that was never performed. Went at this International Film Festival when I had the pleasure of being on the panel with Ben and Chester and Damien. Well, Damien was obviously the recipient, but the lead speaker. But I was asked what can be done now. I think the road ended in terms of litigation, but it does occur to me that legislators could at least agitate, if not pass legislation that would call for the federal government and those responsible to conduct studies, because I think they've never been done.
Right. Thank you so much, Elkin, for your works and also your advice to this board. Let's give him and Ben a big round of applause.
Yeah, one of the questions that came out of that, one of the big takeaway questions that came out of that night that I heard, and this for Alderwoman, my colleague Alderwoman Navarro from the 28th, who is big on this, was what if any studies were done on that land afterwards? I know we tore it down, and all of that. So this not for us to talk about now, but that was something that came out of that. And of course, myself and whoever else was there, we were committed to following up on that for them. So if Mr. Smith is back.
Damien, are you back? I think we may have lost him. But yeah, yes. Alderman from the 23rd, I see you're still there.
Yeah, I was going to just make the motion, we do this in bank, that's all.
Been moved by the Alderman from the 23rd and seconded by the Alderman from the 17th and Alderman from the 12th that we make this resolution in bank. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Resolution 146, prepare another copy of it in bank. Alderman from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board, and thank you, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, for creating this resolution. This documentary was riveting, and something that I did not know happened here in St. Louis. Not only were there cheers, there's a lot of sadness and tears that day. And it has made me look at how we can mitigate these circumstances. This is so unfair, as Lawyer Kistner tried to help these individuals who have been really affected by this poisonous gas. And I would also like to say that it was a pleasure to meet Mr. Smith, and that he said that he's going to be coming back to St. Louis and making other documentaries and to show the history of St. Louis. So thank you, and I appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman from 26, do you have any additional word?
No, just thank you. And I look forward to us getting the opportunity. Maybe we can view it, the ones that haven't seen it, maybe do it together, share with our communities, which is important, share it in our schools, which is important, and continue to work collectively to empower our communities with these real life stories so we can do better.
All right, thank you. I want to thank all the one from 26.
I think Damien is back.
Damien, are you back? No, I don't think he's back yet. I want to just thank all the one from 26 for bringing this resolution, and I believe that you said all the one from the 17th worked with you on parts of it or whatever. So thank you all for bringing this resolution. Ben, thank you for sharing your story and for fighting for justice for not just yourself, people all across the city of St. Louis and people who have been harmed by this. Elkin, thank you.
I think Damien Smith is back.
Damien, are you back? Oh, he's in and out. I think he's having a connection problem. Damien, are you back? I see you, but I can't hear you yet. I don't know if he's back. So, but we can get him, the transcript and everything so that he understands that we appreciate his work. But again, I just want to thank you all for all your work. Thanks to Damien Smith for using his talents to tell the story in a way that touches people, that grips them, that brings the message home to them. Mr. Phillips, you have your hand up.
Yes. Damien will probably be in town right after, well, you guys will be out, but we can arrange something where he can kind of meet with some of these aldermen and people of interest in St. Louis. And I'll be letting you guys know. He kind of felt that he may have some problem moving around today because he had to go between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, so he's probably somewhat caught up in that traffic.
Yes.
All right. All right. I think we're going to have to move on. So we'll get Damien information, all the one from 20.
Excuse me, can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah. we'll have to move on, and we'll get Alderman from 26, get the information to Mr. Smith, and we can talk a little bit later. Alderman from 27, you recognize.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly.
Thank you. Okay, I had to move around. Mr. President and the board, I would like to present Resolution 149. If the clerk could please read the resolution for me.
Madam Clerk, could you read Resolution 149?
Resolution 149 honoring Mel Shahid Sr. Whereas Mel Shahid Sr., a 14-year prostate cancer survivor, is the founder and board president of the Empowerment Network in St. Louis, Missouri. In 2005, he retired from the Chrysler Corporation after 32 years of service. And whereas while at Chrysler, he founded Unique Painting and Decorating, which has been operating successfully for the past 32 years. In March 2007, after having no sick days in his life, he was diagnosed with stage 2 prostate cancer and given 2 years to live. And whereas he recounts his story on the operating table, I ask God to heal my body, restore my health, and give me a second chance. I promise to fight prostate cancer and advocate for victims and survivors. I beg for my life. All I want to do is keep my promise to God. I just want to be a helper and a humble servant to those who need my help. It was a pledge, a covenant, and a divine oath. He believes in his vision and says he will give his life for this cause. Shahid says God has answered his prayer, and whereas Shahid developed the Empowerment Network 10 in February 2008 on his basement floor with his late co-founder, Isidore Wayne. Both being cancer survivors, they created what they could not find in their neighborhood, a source for information about prostate cancer. Within months, 10 grew to over 100 men. In 2009 and 2010, respectively, 10 was the American Cancer Society's Harold P. Freeman Award recipient for establishing its Cancer Education and Information Center and creating a monthly support group for survivors in the community. Today, 10 has nearly 600 members. And whereas Shahid's vision led him to produce a weekly radio program on a local AM station. It began in 2008 and went on hiatus in 2017. It was a live call-in format with invited guests from the medical, financial, and survivor community. The listenership approached 25,000 weekly by the end of the 8th year. And whereas prostate cancer was raised to state level in 2008, Shahid's desire to share knowledge about prostate cancer with all men in the state began with a conversation with the state legislator who filed a bill to identify, treat, and track uninsured and underinsured men aged 35 and up years of age. The focus was to determine the prevalence of prostate cancer in the state in order to create a program of intervention. After iterations in the House, the bill was passed in the Senate and became law in 2011. Whereas for the past 12 years, Shahid has received yearly awards and recognitions for his involvement in broadcasting the scourge of prostate cancer in the community and creating strategic medical, corporate, and public university partnerships that broaden the message in the St. Louis region. As a true leader, he first sees the need, envisions the plan, and then empowers the team to action. His advocacy has led to thousands of men on a grassroots level being exposed to vital information about prostate health. The team sponsors prostate cancer walks, health fairs, and church tours where education and free PSA testing are provided. And whereas Shahid believed that love and service transform the lives of men who are wounded and in pain into men of valor and courage, fighting back with their time, efforts, and energy helps them to become servants and educators to newly diagnosed. This is the basis of our venture into providing mental health resources. 10 theorizes that our health becomes our psychological and emotional healing. And whereas in the past 5 years, 10 has participated in 448 outreach events, provided PSA testing for 1,423 men, counseled 4,786 men, and had 1,309 attendees at support group meetings and received 209 referrals from physicians. These statistics are the very essence of the needs Shaheed has addressed since his pledge to God in 2007. Now, therefore, let it be resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that we pause to recognize Mr. Mel Shaheed for his many contributions and achievements. We further direct the clerk of the Board of Aldermen to spread a copy of this resolution across the minutes of these proceedings and to prepare a memorial copy to the end that it may be presented to the honoree at the time and place deemed appropriated by the sponsor. Introduced this 10th day of December 2021 by the Honorable Pam Boyd, 27th Ward Alderwoman, and the Honorable Louis Reed, President, Board of Aldermen.
Alderman from the 20th. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Alderman from the 27th, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. Thank you, President and the board. And thank you, Shaheed and your family for your patience in this, because today we have recognized a lot of powerful people that are lifting our city up. And I thought it was appropriate for Mel V because he's so humble and he never toots his own horn. As African-American men that continuously are in silence and doing the work and not being recognized. And I felt that this should have been a powerful event for him. The good part was with the help of previous Senator Robin Wright Jones, we surprised him because he thought it was just to recognize him with the prostate organization. But this is to recognize him as a man that has fought for men to ensure that they are knowledgeable and educated in regards to prostate cancer. He helps people when he doesn't even know he helps them. My husband was one of those prostate cancer survivors that he helped, and my husband didn't even know he was being helped by Mel V. So on this day, I thank Mel V and his family for coming, and I appreciate their patience, and I'd like to present the resolution to the board.
Alderwoman Boyd, do you, along with Mel V, do you have any other speakers?
I didn't know if Robin Wright Jones wanted to say something. He's working with him in the organization.
Yes, certainly.
Senator Jones, you're recognized.
All right. Thank you, President Reed. Good morning to everyone. I have been with Mel V for the past 7 years, shortly after I retired from the legislature. And I was the legislator who carried his piece of legislation through the House and through the Senate. And we were able to get it signed by Governor Nixon. And we did have a small demonstration program in the city and in the Boot Hill identifying men. The hope of course, at that point was to lift that up to the well woman status, similar to what the women's program is in the state. But we're going to still do that. We're not done yet. We still going to come back legislatively and raise it up to that. It has really been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of good work because we do save lives. That is our ultimate goal. And it was Mel V's vision, and he continues to have visions as we grow. It's difficult for a 501c3, especially one that was minority based, to survive for 14 years. And with his vision and leadership, we've been able to sustain ourselves through the pandemic. And we're now looking at some major upgrades yet for 2022. So thank you, Alderwoman Pam, for doing this for Mel V, because I say all the time that he needs to be recognized, and this is really a great tribute to him.
All right.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Boyd, I see some of Brother Shaheed's other guests have their hands up. Are you going to introduce them, or are we going to go to Mel V?
Let's go to Mel V and he can introduce them, since I'm on a cell phone and I can't see.
All right. Brother Melvin Shahid, you're recognized, and then after that, we're going to go to members of the board.
Name of God. With the name of God, most gracious and most merciful, to my good friend, the Honorable Lewis Reed, and to the Honorable Pam Board at the 27th Ward, and to all my friends at the Board of Aldermen, I'm humbled, I'm honored, and I'm surprised to receive this resolution today. I want to thank you for honoring me and thank you for thinking of me. But truly, I could not have accomplished this, and I could not accomplish the things that I do or have done over the years without a great team. So I want to just real quickly shout out to my team. Thank you to the most important person in my life, my wife. Thank you for her sacrifices, for allowing me. And I say that very, very, very boldly, allowing me to spend the many hours that I do working to save lives of men in the prostate cancer community. I want to thank my family members. I want to thank my executive director, Senator Robert Wright Jones, our board of directors. We have a great marketing director, Walter Prickett, and also the Prostate Cancer Survivors, our organization, and the supporters and the friends who truly believe in the mission of the Empowerment Network. But brothers and sisters, building an organization, building a movement takes time, takes energy, takes commitment, and it takes a great team in order to be a hope. And in the world of cancer, hope is a very important word. And it's important in the life of someone who's fighting a cancer diagnosis. And that's what we at the Empowerment Network, we share. We share strongly and we share boldly hope. So 14 years ago, when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer and given 2 years to live, I decided at that time, with the help of Almighty God, to turn a setback into a comeback and really make a difference in someone's life. You know, and I decided to bring to the underserved community of St. Louis cancer support, cancer information, education, and medical resources for men and their family diagnosis with this disease. And that is truly the mission of our organization, simply to inspire, encourage, empower families as they fight a prostate cancer diagnosis, and also encourage men to get tested. You know, and the coin of phrase from the president of the Board of Aldermen, he said years ago, stay alive, get tested by 35. Is that what you said?
That's it.
Stay alive, get tested by, and he said that because we now see men, African-American men, being diagnosed with this disease as early as the age of 35. You know, so to all the men listening today, don't forget to go to the doctors, get your physicals, and don't forget to ask for that simple blood test, which is a PSA test, because it's that test that could save your life. Also, I want to shout out to all the beautiful caregivers, all the beautiful wives, mothers, daughters, all the ladies that encourage us as men to go to the doctor, because without you, it would not be us. It would not be us. So thank you for your honor today, and God bless all of you.
All right, thank you, Brother Shahid. Hey, one of your other guests has a hand up. I don't know if you want to.
I can't see him.
Hope Whitehead. Hope Whitehead. Thank you.
That's Hope. I haven't seen Hope in so many years. Plus, I don't have my glasses on. That's the Honorable Hope Whitehead. You had your hand up, so we want to get to the guests, and then we're going to go to the members of the Board of Aldermen to bring it to bring us additional words.
Thank you. I am so proud to be here and to honor Melvin Shahid. I have been a board member for the Empowerment Network for longer than Senator Robin Wright Jones. As a matter of fact, I was part of the decision, the great decision that Melvin had to hire Senator Robin Wright Jones, and the two of them make a fantastic team in taking this organization to where it is today. But I wanted to give a personal story as to my involvement and what Melvin and the team has brought out with me. And before I share that, let me say that my current role as judicial administrator for the St. Louis County Court would not allow me to be involved in any organization, but I had them specially create an exception so that I can remain a part of the Empowerment Network. But I am in the Empowerment Network and was attracted to the Empowerment Network because my father had prostate cancer. He didn't die of prostate cancer though. He had excellent health care and lived with prostate cancer. But I have 5 brothers. Despite my father's prostate cancer, you couldn't talk to these guys about getting tested. You couldn't talk to them about the importance of doing what is necessary to check out the prostate. It was like a bad word. And then Melvie came along and he has taken the cloak off of this, deadly disease. Because unfortunately, what happens is when our brothers get prostate cancer, it's almost far too late because they haven't received the proper medical care that they need. But Melvie has taken the cloak off of this. He's taken the disease out of it, and he's being the support that brothers need in order to be able to combat this so that it doesn't become a death sentence. So I'm very proud to be a part of the Empowerment Network. I'm proud of my relationship with all of the board members. I'm proud to be a member of the team, and I'm proud that my city Board of Aldermen is honoring such an honorable man. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak on behalf of Melvie Shahi.
Thank you so much for your works, and thank you for being here this morning to honor Brother Melvie Shahi. With that, we're going to go to the members of the board.
I think Senator has her hand up.
Excuse me.
Senator Robin Wright Jones has her hand up.
Yeah, she spoke earlier.
I did. I just wanted to say, I know Melvie's wife is on the call. I believe he has a daughter on the call. And I think we had one survivor. Now, they might not want to speak, but I do know those 3 people. And then our marketing person is on the call as well, but they didn't have their hands up, but that's okay.
Do you have their names so we can record?
Well, they're all, okay. Hernitha Shaheed is the wife.
Okay.
Kalima Shaheed is the daughter that I do believe is on, and Walter Pritchard is our marketing person at Soaring High Media. And then we had Cordell Jordan, and I also see Dwan Robinson, but they're all under Melvie Shaheed guest.
Okay, all right, well, welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Well, Alderman from the 12th.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I come from a family that has been touched quite a bit by cancer, so I wanted to thank not only the sponsor, Alderman Boyd, but also Mr. Shaheed for his incredibly important work. And if it pleases the sponsor, I would like to motion that we make this courtesy resolution on bank.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderman from 12th, seconded by the Alderman from the 1st, and the Alderman from the 9th, I believe. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Create another copy of this resolution in bank. Alderman from the 1st.
Mr. President, members of the board, I am honored to be one of the co-sponsors of this resolution, honoring a great person who I've known for a lot of years. He wears a lot of hats besides this. You don't know that he's a contractor, so I've had to deal with him in a lot of different ways. But what I want to say, when he talked about the team and what it takes to run an organization, he left out one main thing. Besides, and the wife is the most important because I'm a wife, so that's the most important. But the other thing is money. Money is something you need to run an organization. So I've been very fortunate in my family. The men in my family have not been touched by prostate, but every year my husband and I sit down, and when we make out at the end of the year, we donate. That's one of the organizations that we donate. And I want to tell him that we're going to add $1,000 to what we are normally donating, so that you will get a bigger donation from Sharon Tyus and Sterling Miller, because you do great things. And I challenge all the people out there, you don't have to make the same donation, but that's how you keep an organization going, is that they need money. Okay, so the staff is good and everything else, but the money. So I'm doing the pitch, all right? And if there's a way that we could put up on the chat how you can donate, I would so much appreciate it, because the lives that you save is untold. And just hearing Hope Whitehead, so she took credit for Robin Wright Jones. So I'm going to do it and take a little credit for Hope, because when I was a law student at Washington University, no, she's going to hear it. We raised so much hell as Black law students. We had 15 Black students, and the class before us and after us had 2 or 3. And the dean said, how do you have this many Black law students? 15, which we were like, that's not anything, but it was the most they'd ever had. And we raised so much hell that we got them to do a scholarship for Black law students. And as many as that would come, not only would they do the scholarship, because I had a scholarship, but the money kept going up, but that whatever they increased on the scholarship, if they went up on tuition, $5,000, their scholarship increased $5,000. So we were able to get 19 Black students from the class. I graduated in 87, so she started, I guess, in 87. So Hope was one of those students that was able to use that scholarship. And I'm so envious because of the debt that I was in when I left law school. But that's why I want people to understand, just because you're in a debt, don't pass that debt along and think somebody else is supposed to do that. So help somebody. So I was happy that 19 Black students got to graduate from Washington University with a wonderful education and didn't have that debt that was hung around our necks. I was able to pay it off. And so then to look at the connection that she went to work for, the organization Mr. Shaheed had, and then she helped Senator Robin Wright Jones, who's been my family's, her family and my family have been personal friends forever. And just to see that connection and Hope do that, you never know when you're helping someone who they then help and how that is connected. So Hope is one of my chicks that I was able to help, and I keep up with them to make sure everybody's doing okay. But just the fact not to have debt and to be able then to work with not-for-profits, because it's hard when you graduate from law school if you owe $100,000, $75,000 or whatever. And so to be able then to make your career choices, to then be able to put back into the community instead of trying to just hustle for money is a very great thing. So I want to just say that Hope Whitehead is my chick, but also Robin Wright Jones, and I've been friends forever. And Mr. Shaheed, I respect you so much. And as I said, we will be adding $1,000 to our donation, and anything else I can do to help you, if you all call on me, I will be glad to do it, because I appreciate it. And I appreciate what you, your wife, and your staff and everyone does. Thank you so much.
Right. Alderman for the second, thank you for those words. And also I know at first, thank you for those words. And I know everyone else, the organization appreciates all that you have done to help them. Alderman from 26.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. I had lowered my hand because everything I could think of possibly saying has already been said. But since I have the mic, I will echo everything. Ditto. Thank you, Brother Shaheed, aka Uncle Shaheed, because our families are so close. And you know, I have witnessed the work. I have witnessed you all in the community, your commitment and your consistency in the community. And so I'm gonna get like Alderwoman Tyus and get some money behind you and make sure that we keep this. I say it all the time, no money, no mission. And we know that this is truly a mission, taking away the stigma that's been in our community around our healthcare and our Black men. So thank you for your commitment. Thank you to your family. Thank you to your staff and your board and everything. And just know, like she said, we are behind you 100%.
Alderman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. First, let me say to you that this topic is one that does not get enough credit, enough voice. But I tell you, my friend, Melvin Shaheed, I cannot believe what you have done. I was there when you kicked it off, and it is just amazing. It is amazing to see what you and your team and your dedication to this cause has done for our community. It gives us another glimpse into what can be done if you are purposeful and if you are dedicated. You can accomplish a lot. If you have nothing else to do, please make sure that you donate. You will have my donation by the end of the day, because I really, really appreciate what you do. And I've watched you over the years be who you are. Because see, first of all, you are a man, a proud Black man who stands tall all the time. Not sometime, but all the time. Whether it's in the workplace, if it's your dedication to your organization, it's family, you are always there. And so I thank you so very much.
Alderwoman of the 14th.
I took my hand down. I don't know that I could say anything further, but I think it's important for men to be concerned about their health. And I think that as we move forward, it would be good if we made this just like the Women's Health Initiative. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for all your dedication and work, everyone.
Thank you, Alderwoman of the 14th. Alderman of the 21st.
Thank you, Mr. President. I meant to take my hand down because everything has already been said. But to my brother, I love you and I love the work that you do. You are definitely an inspiration. To my senator and my former state representative, you already know how I feel about both of you. The work that each of you guys do, no other organization or entity does in our city. So thank you for your commitment. And donation, I said a donation link. I think the senator has put it in almost 3 times now, so we can't miss it. I will be donating as well.
All right. Alderwoman of the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. And thank you, Alderwoman Boyd, for bringing this resolution. Mr. Shaheed, thank you so much for your work, for your organization's work. I think we met about 2 years ago when there was an event here at City Hall. And my father did not survive his battle with prostate cancer. And I don't wish that on anybody. So thank you so much for your work, for your organization. Please get tested. Catch it as early as you can, because it is very survivable when it is caught early. So thank you for your advocacy. Thank you for all that you've given to the community and giving folks hope. I know that I hear of your work with caretakers and family members, and it's so important through this whole process. So, and thank you for the link to donations. I'll be sending some money in my dad's memory. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alderwoman from the 8th, for those touching words. And that's what Brother Melvi Shaheed has dedicated his life to in making a difference. Alderwoman from the 4th.
Thank you, President Reed. I'd like to say, now that I know who Melvi Shaheed is, we were both on early. And I said, well, and I think it was just he and I. And I said, well, I guess we're a little early. He said, I'm always early. I said, well, okay. But that was my first involvement with meeting him. And it's an honor to say that now I know who you are. And I also will be donating $1,000 to the program process.
Oh, man. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you so much, Alderwoman Evans, for your kind words, your donations and everything. We're actually going to have to go back to Melvi after, all of the outpouring that has taken place. Any further discussion? Brother Melvy, before I speak, actually, let me just say a couple words, and then we're actually going to give you an opportunity to close. It's not what we customarily do, but this has taken on a different, a kind of a life of its own. So I'm going to give you that opportunity. My father had prostate cancer, and we lived through that. Talked to you about it when he was diagnosed. We were blessed enough that he was ended up being a survivor, but he expired, many years later. But was able to make it through that cancer. The other thing that it did to us, and running into Brother Melvy Shaheed, was to teach me that it was important for me to get tested and my brothers to get tested, and just spread the word to my cousins and nephews. And we have been spreading the word about the importance of getting tested. And it has made a difference. We've been able to, in some cases, have them catch it early. And now they are living survivors. And it has kept their families whole. But it's so important to have that strong family unit around you to make it through those difficult times. The Alderman from the 8th, your testimony was so touching because you and your family lived through it, and you understand it, and you are now a living testimony to go on and to move that word on to other families about how important it is to get tested early, because as you said, if you get tested early, you have an opportunity to turn that around. Alderwoman Tyus, for all of your input and everything that you've been doing, just to help keep the organization going and help make sure that they have staffing and early days of helping Hope Whitehead by making sure those scholarship monies were in place. I wish you were at SIUE because I needed a scholarship. I didn't get one. But Brother Melvy Shaheed, thank you so very much for dedicating your life for the betterment of others. It's not often that a person comes around that can see beyond just their own, wants and needs and desires, but to do it so much so that you have now dedicated your life to the transformation of others, so that other people won't have to live through some of the things that you and your family lived through, so that you can help bring good health to families and education, especially to men. And when you look at African-American men, I could tell you, having played football and wrestling and all those types of sports, racing motorcycles and all those types of things, we're taught just that, well, what are you complaining about? You just hurt. Get up and keep moving. And as a culture and as a people, we don't, I don't want to say subscribe to, but we have not been, we have not really grasped the understanding of the importance of getting regular health checkups. And a lot of it has to do with financial strains and things of that nature. But the work that you're doing to show people that they can still get those services, and they need to get those services, and connecting them to those resources have made a difference in many lives of people all across the city that have grown in other areas across this country. So on behalf of the Board of Aldermen and other people who cannot thank you, I want to give you a big thanks from all of us. Alderman from 26 talked earlier about the significance of telling your story and assuring that your story is well documented. So when we give these resolutions, that's what it's doing. It's telling your story, it's assuring that your story is well documented. This is much different than Wikipedia, because on Wikipedia, people can alter your story to say whatever they want to say. They can take your many accomplishments and put them under John Doe, right? But here, it's an official document, and the only way it can be altered is by a sitting member of the Board of Aldermen into that permanent record of the city of St. Louis. So thank you for all that you've done. This is a great moment for all of us here at the city of St. Louis. Great job and job well done. And Brother Shaheed will give you a chance to wrap up. You're muted. You're currently muted. There you go.
Okay, I like to close with a quote. The quote that says, no man or no woman is a failure without friends. You know, no man is a failure without friends. So on this journey that I've been on, I have been blessed to make so many great friends, from St. Louis U to Wash U to some of the pharmaceutical companies and to the everyday man on the street. You know, God has blessed me to make friends, and I'm just a humble servant, just serving, helping to save lives from a disease that is claiming lives in our community. That disease is prostate cancer. Once again, a salute to my team, to my beautiful wife, and to my team who's there to help me. I would be nothing without them. And I'm encouraging men throughout the city of St. Louis that's listening today is to get tested. Thank you so very much.
All right, thank you. All right, it's been moved by the Alderman from the 19th that we adopt our courtesy resolutions calendar as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Well, thank you. With that, we'll return to our regular order of business. Introduction of honored guests. Any introduction of honored guests? Alderman from 26.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. This has been an amazing morning already. I've been over here crying, laughing. Want to go run across the hall and give Alderwoman Rice a hug. But, I would just wanted to announce, you never know how far your reach is, how many people we touch, how many people are listening and pay attention. So today, my honored guest is Mr. Zanus Brooks, all the way from Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, wow. Welcome. Alderman from the 12th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. My honored guest is a constituent of mine, Mr. Bill Hurst. I will put his name in the chat for the record. And Mr. Hurst, Bill, is not only a neighbor, but he's also an Army vet. And he's also undergoing some pretty strong treatments for not prostate cancer, but for another cancer. And I just wanted to uplift him today. He's a incredibly committed and passionate neighbor, not just of the 12th Ward, but of the city of St. Louis, and also of the Metropolitan Community Church of Greater St. Louis. And really, I mean, with a name like Bill, you can't go wrong, but overall, he is absolutely a standout neighbor, constituent, and citizen. So my honored guest for today in this meeting is Mr. Bill Hurst. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, you're welcome. So Mr. Bill Hurst, we are uplifting you today, keeping you in our thoughts and prayers for, strong recovery. And thank you for joining us today. Let's give him a Alderman from the 1st.
Mr. President, members of the board, the former alderman from the 4th Ward would always find an alderperson to honor. And I'm going to honor the alderwoman from the 4th Ward, Ms. Dwayne Evans, is my special guest today. And I'm going to do that because she allowed me to work on this fabulous Homer G. Phillips, we worked together, resolution, and I learned so much. I have learned so much with the research. And so I also want my guests to be all of the people who have reached out to me, who worked at Homer G. Phillips, who their parents worked at Homer G. Phillips, who interned, fabulous people that were nurses, doctors. When I listened to the people from the St. Mary's talk about all the history of St. Mary's, that's how I felt yesterday. I mean, I got full talking about Homer G. Phillips, and then all the people that came, and Ollie Stewart, she's a special guest, Percy Green, they came. Ollie Stewart at 89, 88 years old set up a screen so that everybody that was there at the senior citizen building could also participate. So she's still fighting the battle in her late 80s. And I'm honoring Alderwoman Evans because I try not to step on toes and get into other wards, but she allowed me to do that. So she's my special guest, as are the people who are associated with Homer G. Phillips, because I really learned a lot not a native, and I had heard about Homer G. Phillips and thought I knew everything until this resolution. So I tell people all the time, sometimes you think you're the leader, but you're really being led. So thank you, Alderwoman Evans, and thank you for being my special guest.
All right, Alderwoman from the 4th, welcome you today. Alderman from the 23rd.
Yes, as always, if anybody wants to guess, it's my good friend Greg Myra, who we're working on the Guinness World Book of Records for being the special guest of the Board of Aldermen for the most consecutive days. Anyway, that's my special guest.
All right, welcome, Greg. Alderman from the 10th, like to wrap us up.
Is it time to adjourn? Oh.
No, you're just getting going.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. We're here on December 10th, 2021. On this day in 1927, the Grand Ole Opry made its first broadcast. More importantly, this is a Dewey Decimal System Day. That's really exciting. But also in 1963, the life of the alderman from the 23rd was changed forever as his favorite singer, Donny Osmond, made his singing debut on the Andy Williams Show. There we go.
Approval of the minutes? Have none.
We have none.
Report of city officials?
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, and C of the agenda and has been placed in the alderman's mailboxes.
We dispense with line item 7. Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal accounts? Would anyone like to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal accounts? We will dispense with line items 8 through 10. First reading the board bills.
Board Bill 149, sponsored by Alderman Bosley, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 70573, and in lieu thereof enacting a new ordinance prohibiting the issuance of any packaged or drink liquor licenses for any currently non-licensed premises within the boundaries of the 3rd Ward Liquor Control District containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 150, sponsored by Alderwoman Negracia, an ordinance relating to the city of St. Louis response to people who are unhoused, living on public property, and setting standards and procedures for remedying unsafe conditions and protecting the rights and property of unhoused individuals, including a severability clause and an emergency clause. That is the extent of first reading of board bills.
A reference to committee.
To the Public Safety Committee, Board Bill 149. To Health and Human Services Committee, Board Bill 150. That's the extent of reference to committee.
Second reading.
We have none.
Dispense with line item 14, perfection consent.
Board Bill 133, sponsored by Alderman Ryan, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission on November 3rd, 2021 to change the zoning of property as indicated on district map from J Industrial District to A Single Family Dwelling District in City Block 5095, so as to include the described parcel of land in City Block 5095 and contain an emergency clause. Board Bill 118, Committee Sub, sponsored by Alderman Todd and Alderman Muhammad. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, wherein the Board of Aldermen authorizes the receipt of and appropriates funds awarded by the U.S. Department of Labor relating to the Youth Build Grant and contain an emergency clause. That is the extent of perfection consent calendar.
Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on the motion for the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the perfection consent calendar.
Been moved by it's been moved by the Alderman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. By your vote, you perfected the aforementioned bills. Board bills for, before we go to the board bills for perfection, Alderman from the 10th, you're recognized. You're muted, Alderman.
That might have been a good thing. I was sneezing. All right.
You're ready.
Thank you. I would, at this time, what we have there is as the board bill turns, the continuing saga of our redistricting bill. we need to take Board Bill 101 as amended and amend it again today. So the procedure, I guess, would be to
Move to reconsider.
move to reconsider Board Bill 101 as.
Haven't voted on the prevailing side.
That's correct. So thank you. It's not something I have to do too often. Having voted on prevailing side, I move to reconsider Board Bill 101 as amended.
Second.
Been moved by the Alderman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 1st. Any discussion? Been moved and seconded. It's been moved and seconded that we reconsider the vote of perfection on Board Bill 101 as amended. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Page.
Aye.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Aye.
Alderman Coder.
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Vollmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin.
Aye.
Alderman Stevens.
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Odenberg.
Aye.
Alderwoman Peel.
Aye.
Alderman Todd.
Abstain.
Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad.
Aye.
Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaquero.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Aye.
President Reed.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderman Boyd. 26 aye votes and 1 voted abstain.
By vote, sustained motion of the Alderman from the 10th. Madam Clerk, please place Board Bill 101 as amended on the regular perfection calendar.
So noted.
Board bills for perfection.
Board Bill 145 sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Howard, and Alderman Gunther, an ordinance providing for and directing the submission to the qualified electors of the city of St. Louis at a special bond election to be held in said city on the 5th day of April 2022 of a proposal for the incurring of indebtedness and the issuance of general obligation bonds of said city in evidence thereof in an aggregated amount not to exceed $50 million upon the assent to the said proposal of 2/3 of the qualified electors of said city voting thereon and containing an emergency clause.
Alderwoman from the 19th, you recognize on the perfection of Board Bill 145.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move that we adopt Board Bill number 145.
Second.
Been moved by the Alderman from the 19th that we perfect Board Bill 145, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th. Alderman from the 19th, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board Bill 145 is simple in its understanding and direction. It is a bond proposal to be on the ballot for our citizens to approve. It is recommended by our comptroller's office and has been heard and moved by our committee and is now asking for the full board to approve. Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Would the Alderman from the 19th yield for a quick question?
Alderman from the 19th will yield questions to Alderman from the 8th.
Yes.
Alderman from the 8th, please proceed.
Thank you so much. So just since this is a big deal that we're sending to the vote for the public, there is no tax increase. We're basically reissuing bonds that were, or bonds that were already or bonds that had expired. And so we're spending money again the same way that we had before, or sorry, could you just explain that process there?
We have a bond, a debt limit, and we have paid down on that. So we have capacity to reissue some bonds that will not be an additional tax to any of our citizens. And that is one of the things that we do on a regular basis, is to use capacity that we have. And most especially those funds go towards capital improvements.
Great. And then how were the capital improvement categories determined for the bond?
We have two functions that work on that. One is that we have what we call a capital committee, which encompasses a group of people from the various department heads, as well as the chairs of the Ways and Means and HUD's committee. And we also have the ongoing process where the comptroller's office identifies the needs that come in from the various departments. So it is monitored on a regular basis.
Okay. Thank you so much for answering questions. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. I had the Alderman from the 8th as a co-sponsor. Alderman from 13th.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd also like to be added as co-sponsor, please.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Add the Alderwoman from 13th as co-sponsor. Alderwoman from 26.
And me as well, please.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Add the Alderwoman from 26 as a co-sponsor. Alderwoman from the 2nd.
I would like to be added as a co-sponsor as well.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. That Alderwoman from the 2nd is co-sponsor. Alderwoman from the 4th.
I also would like to be added as a co-sponsor.
All right, Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Add the Alderwoman from the 4th. Alderman from the 12th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have half a mind to just ask that we make it on bank, but I will not. Please just add me as a co-sponsor.
A little more complicated ones are.
Yes, slightly more complicated. Thank you.
Yeah, please, Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Add the Alderman from the 12th. Alderman from the 5th.
Thank you, Mr. President. After the Alderwoman from the 19th explanation that this initiative will not add any taxes or tax burden on the citizens, please add me as a co-sponsor.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Add the Alderman from the 5th as a co-sponsor. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All right, Alderwoman from the 19th, you recognize the close.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did see several names added in the chat. I'll ask the clerk to please monitor and include those, but I renew my motion.
All right, it's been moved by the Alderwoman from 19th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 14th, that we perfect Board Bill 145. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, vote, you perfected Board Bill 145.
Board Bill 101 as amended, sponsored by Alderman Vollmer and President Reed, an ordinance pertaining to ward boundaries for the city of St. Louis, repealing ordinance 68981, codified as chapter 2.12 of the revised code of the city of St. Louis, 2020 anno, establishing a new ward boundaries with an emergency clause.
Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on the perfection of Board Bill 101 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. As we continue with this historic undertaking, naturally, we're trying to get this as perfect and as correct and as we possibly can. And in doing so, we have a couple of amendments that will finalize this process today.
Alderman from the 10th, would you like to make a motion to perfect Board Bill 101 as amended?
I was on my way.
Oh, okay.
Just a little preamble. So,
all right. So,
with that being said, we will make a motion to for amendment number 1, which should be in the drive.
Alderman from 10th, first we need a motion to perfect Board Bill 101.
I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah.
I move that we perfect Board Bill 101 as amended.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 10th. Entertain a second on that motion.
Second.
Seconded by the Alderman from the 19th, the 26th, and the Alderman from the 23rd. and there may have been others. Alderman from the 10th, you're recognized to continue.
All right, thank you, sir. So in the drive will be amendment number 1, which we will take up first to board bill number 1 as amended. What we're doing here is merely taking out the emergency clause. In section 3, where we're striking out the words, this being an ordinance for the preservation of public peace, health, and safety, declared emergency measure within the meanings of section 1920, article 4, Charter of the City of St. Louis, become effective immediately upon its passage and approval by the mayor. We're simply removing that. The reason for that is in reaching out to other municipalities who have gone through this process and are going through this process. It basically makes this board bill untouchable to litigation and this moves us forward in creating a more perfect board bill as we are going through this process. I'm open to any questions if anyone has any.
First, Alderman from the 10th like to move for the adoption of amendment number 1 to board bill 101 as amended.
We will move. I make a motion that we adopt amendment number 1 to board bill 101 as amended.
Moved by Alderman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th and Alderman from the 23rd. Any further discussion? Been moved and seconded that we adopt amendment number 1 to board bill 101 as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Abstain. Abstain, 18th Ward.
Right, and no. By your vote, you adopted amendment number 1 to board bill 101 as amended. Alderman from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I will also in your drive will be amendment number 2. I will make a motion to adopt amendment number 2 to board bill 101 as amended, then we will discuss.
Been moved by the Alderman from the 10th that we adopt amendment number 2 to board bill 101 as amended. Entertain a second on that motion. Second by the Alderman from the 5th and Alderman from the 23rd. Alderman from the 10th, please proceed.
And thank you. What we have here is going to be basically a land swap between board bill number 8 and ward number 8 and ward number 14. I have to get used to using numbers. I'm still wanting to call them by their letters after 3 months. What is occurring here is these are in relation to the sporting facilities. We found that as we were trying to keep neighborhoods together and doing our other diligence to the voting process, that we had the new soccer complex actually in 2 wards. And we would like to put the soccer complex being a new development into 1 ward. And by doing that, we will be taking that, and then the swap is to put into the other ward, I believe it's the Enterprise Center currently, and to take that. So we're just trying to facilitate these as we're going through this. We're naturally we're still getting phone calls and things, but we figure it would be much more prudent to have the whole new soccer facility under the realm of 1 ward, and also with the hockey facility. With that, I'll entertain any questions. Myself and the president can answer any of them.
All right. Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 28th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm just curious, I'm looking in the drive. Is there a revised map that we can look at here?
Yes, it's in the drive. You should see the map and the breakdown of I think it's the 8th and the 14th ward. You can look at the 8th and the 14th ward. It's just.
Do we have a citywide map with these lines on it? Or do I need to scroll through the 14-page document with each ward?
The only areas that are changing is that land between the 8th ward and 14th ward, so you can see those on those wards.
Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna need a few minutes to look at it. This is the first that I'm hearing about it. Thank you.
Okay, all right, you're welcome. Alderman from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say thank you to you and Alderman from the 10th for agreeing to make that little tweak once it was brought to our attention. I think it's important that the MLS complex be in the same ward. So just appreciate those efforts.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And thank you very much.
And thanks to all of you who raised that issue. And it makes a lot of sense that that complex should be in one ward and have one alderperson, opposed to having the soccer complex split, and now both facilities would have equal representation. All right,
So,
any further discussion? Any further discussion? All right, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt amendment number 2 to Board Bill 101 as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Now what's before us is the perfection of Board Bill 101 as amended. Any further discussion? Been moved by the Alderman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from 19 and Alderman from 23rd that we perfect Board Bill 101 as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? It's been moved and seconded.
I abstain, Mr. President.
I was waiting, I was stalling for you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You were almost out of time. By your vote, you have perfected Board Bill 101 as amended.
That's the extent of board bills for perfection.
Third reading consent.
Board Bill 134, 137, 121, 131, 98, 135, 127, 141, 128, and 129.
All right, Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on the third reading consent count.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt the third reading consent calendar.
Second.
I'm sorry, President Reed.
Yeah.
And it's also Board Bill 123.
All right. So
I will rescind my motion.
All
And
right.
now we're a new motion that we adopt the current third reading consent calendar
As amended.
as amended.
Yeah, it's been moved by Alderman from the 10th, entertain a second on that motion.
Second.
Seconded by the Alderman from the 9th. Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we third read and finally pass the aforementioned bills. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus,
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
Alderman Bosley,
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans,
Aye.
Alderman Page,
Aye.
Alderwoman Negracia,
Aye.
Alderman Coder,
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice,
Aye, sorry.
Alderman Gunther,
Aye.
Alderman Balmer,
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin,
Aye.
Alderman Stevens,
Aye.
Alderwoman Switzer,
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Green,
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg,
Aye.
Alderwoman Peel,
Aye.
Alderman Todd,
Abstain.
Alderwoman Davis,
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman Muhammad,
Aye.
Alderman Boyd, Alderman Vaccaro,
Aye.
Alderman Narayan,
Aye.
Alderman Cone,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro,
Aye.
President Reed,
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer,
Aye.
Alderman Boyd. 27 aye votes and 1 abstain.
By vote, Sustain the motion, Alderman from the 10th and third read and finally pass the aforementioned bills. Third reading, report of engrossments.
Board Bill 134, 137, 121, 131, 98, 135, 127, 141, 128, 129, and 123.
All other business being suspended, the president shall in open session affix his signature hereto to the end that these may become law. First reading of resolution.
Resolution 144, sponsored by President Reed and Alderwoman Ingracia. Health Commissioners Order Number 6 for COVID-19.
Alderman from the 6th, you're recognized on the first reading of resolution 144.
Thank you, Mr. President. If it's appropriate, I would like to hold off since we're having a special meeting next week and introduce this then.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's actually pretty smart because then you gain those extra. You gain those
Every once in a while, I have a good idea.
more than once in a while. That's pretty good. Madam Clerk.
Resolution 145, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer. 2022-2023 Assessment Maintenance Plan.
Alderman from the 13th, you recognize on the first reading of resolution 145.
Thank you, President Reed. I'd like to request unanimous consent.
Hearing no objection, please proceed, Alderman.
Thank you so much. This resolution is regarding the 2-year maintenance plan of the Assessor's Office. It is a 2-year approval that the Board of Aldermen needs to do to make sure that the Assessor's Office, basically to note that the Assessor's Office has turned in their plan to the state as they're supposed to every year. And the Board of Estimate and Apportionment has already approved this plan. So this is really a procedural move for us to do. So with that, I'd like to move to adopt resolution 145.
Been moved by Alderman from 13th, and that was a quick second. I didn't catch it. Was that the other one from the 15th, second?
6th.
The other one from the 6th, okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? It's been moved by Alderman from 13, seconded by the Alderman from 6, that we adopt Resolution 145. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries.
That's the extent of first reading of resolutions.
Second reading.
Resolution 138, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus, President Reed, and the following alderpersons: Evans, Gunther, Green, and Gracia, Rice, Vaccaro, Middlebrook, Clark Hubbard, Cone, Todd, and Martin. The appropriation of the name Homer G. Phillips Hospital.
Alderman from the 1st, you recognize on the second reading of Resolution 138.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is one of the resolutions I am just honored to have been able to be associated with. We had a wonderful hearing yesterday. Some things that have been miscommunicated or put out as misinformation came to light. This resolution got started because there is a great number of people in the community. And when I talk about the community, I'm talking about people who interned at Homer G. Phillips, doctors, nurses, current doctors and nurses. We had Black, white show up. In fact, we had so many different people show up, all in favor of this resolution. The only person we had that came to speak against it was Mr. Darrell Piggy, who is the attorney and one of the board members of the Homer G. Phillips 3-bedroom clinic. And I want to thank the entire health committee because they all put their name on it. I want to thank the president. We had the mayor, the comptroller weigh in, the current congresswoman weighed in. And so a lot of times people think they're doing something or they think it's a good idea and they just really don't have the right conversations with the community. And so before introducing this resolution, I talked to the alderwoman from the 4th and we're working together, but I also talked to the alderman from the 5th because it's very important that we acknowledge that we want health services in North St. Louis. And we're not trying to stop any kind of thing that will bring 3-bedroom clinic, 5-bedroom clinic, 20-bedroom hospital. We want all of those things. So we don't want to endanger that. But we do want to acknowledge that in our community, and especially in North St. Louis, there has been a great deal of appropriation of our culture. And this name, Homer G. Phillips, just was one step too much. The man, Homer G. Phillips himself, died in an assassination. But before he died, he led a fight back in the 1930s to 20s, 30s to actually raise money for bond issue to have a hospital in North St. Louis. We already had City Hospital number 1, which was all white because we were segregated in many parts of our city then. And then in that same time period, the citizens of St. Louis went to the polls and voted to keep the hospitals and segregation in place. So when the bond issue came up for a new hospital, Mr. Homer G. Phillips, who was an attorney, member of the Mound City Bar Association, one of the founding members, he went, and he was Republicans because Black people were Republicans then because Lincoln freed the slaves, so we were Republicans. He went to Republicans and worked with them to help raise $1 million extra in the bond issue, and he fought for that bond issue money to be a hospital that was in the Black community. For those of you all who do not know, the Ville was what was going on in the community then. It was where the Black middle class, upper class, bourgeois, educated, because of the segregation, you could start from grade school and go all the way through law school because they didn't want a Black guy to go to the law school. So the Ville just has this rich history. So when I hear people like the people at St. Mary's School talking about their rich history, the Ville itself is just full of history. Sumner, there was a time you couldn't beat the Sumner Bulldogs, although Vashon people may say a little different. You got Annie Malone's children's home. The first time I ever saw Annie Malone's parade was in the 70s. My current husband, but was then my boyfriend, took me to it. I had never seen anything like it before in my life. The parade went all through the Ville, and they had the vendors, and it was positive, and everything was wonderful. I'm still mad that we don't continue to have them Annie Malone parade in the Ville. And I'm gonna work on that with the caucus to see if we can get those people to understand how important it is to keep things that are cultural to a community in the community. And we had so many people that wrote in, but I wanna say one of the best things that we had was the committee man from the 4th Ward and bringing it home to tell why it was not a good idea for the establishment that is built over on the Pruitt-Igoe site to be called the Homer G. Phillips Hospital. And he made the point that if we went over to Bevo Mill and we took the windmill down and we put it at Vanderveer and St. Louis Avenue, would that then make that the Bevo Mill? It certainly would not. No, everybody was very positive about how they supported whatever. We don't care if it's 3 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, or a hospital, but we did not support the appropriation of the name. Disappointing to me was that one of the things that was submitted in our Google Docs was a picture of the Homer G. Phillips, and on it said Memorial Hospital. Mr. Piggy submitted that, and I'm kind of disappointed in him because I guess he doesn't know who I am or other people, because all of us had gone out the night before, the day before, and took pictures of that establishment, and it does not say Memorial Hospital on it, and he did not say we're going to do it in the future. So I thought that he was being a little disingenuous by trying to pretend like it was already that. That's not what it says. It says the Homer G. Phillips Hospital on it. The other thing that we found out that we asked questions was about, and I want to say the Alderman from the 8th, about if they had Medicaid and Medicare certification, and they said they did, but when the people who did our research looked it up, we couldn't find it anyplace. But the biggest thing that came out of this hearing, which has been perpetrated for a number of years, was that people have kept saying they had to have, that it had to start out only 3 bedrooms, and that's what I mean 3 beds, and that's why it was only 3 beds. And so when Mr. Piggy testified to that, I then asked, can you give me the citation of where in the state law does it say that? The guy that was with Mr. Piggy, Mr. Fred Miller, who's also a board member, said, oh, well, that isn't what it said. Now, I've been hearing that that's why it was only 3 beds for years when there was a previous 5th Ward alderperson since this started. And that was the whole thing. Oh, we would have done better, or we done more, but we just had to start out with 3 beds. That is absolutely false. That is not the truth. What the law says is that you have to have a minimum of 3 bedrooms, but they could have built 5, 10, 15, 20. So there's another reason that they only did 3. But I was very disappointed that Mr. Piggy has putting that misinformation out over the number of years that it had to be 3. That wasn't true. And the last thing that we've learned in this hearing is that Mr. Piggy told us that he was the one that had told Mr. McKee, Paul McKee, to name it the Homer G. Phillips, and that he thought it was a good idea. And so my caution to him is that he was not elected, that even though he thought that was a good idea, to see all these people who had such a connection to Homer G. Phillips show up and testify, to have people write. I mean, we had 10 or 15 people that write in comments. I can't even remember that. And just so senior citizens on walkers weighing in, the whole Southside senior citizen group showing up, and everybody saying, we appreciate you, Mr. McKee, about the 3 beds that you're bringing, but we do not want you to appropriate our name. And it came out that they had not talked to the people in the Ville. He had talked to the people in the 5th Ward, which that's real easy if you're talking to the people in the 5th Ward, because maybe they don't have the same attachment. And so at the end, the resolution passed out with the do pass recommendation, recommending that we let Mr. McKee, Paul McKee, who's the developer, know that we appreciate him doing the hospital, but that we do not want him to appropriate the name. We think the name belongs in the Ville, and that also that we were going to write a letter along with this resolution and send to Mr. McKee and invite he and his board members to come in and have a conversation, maybe with the health committee or with, if it's more appropriate for some other people to say, let's sit down and talk about what else can be done, what other name can be used. And don't let Mr. Piggy, who is his lawyer and really has a fiduciary duty to do what's best for him, to dig in and make it so personal. I actually said that I've been knowing Mr. Piggy for a lot of years, and I think that he's gotten personal in his feelings. And this is something that's more important for the community at large. And for that many people to come out in the middle of the day and to just pour out their hearts, and the Black nurses that had interned at Homer G. Phillips, or worked at Homer G. Phillips, doctors who had interned at Homer G. Phillips. And I was sent a list that I am instructed that I have to just mention some of the names of people that interned at Homer G. Phillips. And I was given this list by Mr. Gentry Trotter, who's part of Heat Up St. Louis, and some of the historic names that they couldn't intern anyplace else. They had to come to Homer G. Phillips. Homer G. Phillips used to train all the Black doctors. And some of these people that are so important are Dr. Bernard Randolph, Dr. Jerome Williams, who up until he passed away was right here right next to the Snook City Plaza, Dr. Mary Tillman, Dr. Donald Suggs, who owns the St. Louis American newspaper, Dr. George Venable, Dr. Homer Nash, everybody knows his daughter in the community, Helen Nash and Dr. Nash, and that they also, I found out, had a nurses that graduated from Homer G. Phillips, had a nurses school, Nurse Celeste Moore, Nurse June Lane, Nurse Zenobia Thompson, Nurse Foster, Nurse Georgia Anderson, Nurse Dorothy Thornton, Nurse Yvonne B. Jones, and Nurse Celestine Moore. These were all important people that people wanted me to read the names into the record. We already had read the resolution. It's very long the first time I introduced it, so I didn't want to read it again, but I do want to say people like Percy Green showed up. Again, Ollie Stewart, I want to be her when I grow up. She was there with the whole Southside Senior Citizen Wellness Center, Jamala Rogers. There was a white female doctor, Dr. I want to say Gertrude Palmer. No, I'm sorry, that's not the person. It was just Dr. Emma Crocker. Who showed up. There were white nurses associations that showed up. I was just overwhelmed. I started to cry like a baby almost, because sometimes we do not take care of our culture and what's important, and people dismiss it and think, oh, that isn't important. Or in fact, Mr. Piggy said at one point, well, let's talk about what's important. And so I kind of stopped him and said, this is important. We are responsible to our ancestors to carry on their fight and to make sure that their story is heard. I want to commend the Alderman from the 26th, because she's doing that in a way that takes it to the next step, because you're working with people to document that on film. And so that is a way to do that. I would love to have that young man come and talk to some of these people and do something about Homer G. Phillips. As I said, I'm just so honored to have learned the stuff and to be part of it. But I've always known since I got elected that my job as an educated Black woman was to carry that fight on, that the people who have been discriminated against, who have been treated badly, my job is to fight for them, to stand up and to bring their stories, even when some of you all may not want to hear it, to get even punctured myself, lose my own vote. Never in my life did I ever think somebody at this Board of Aldermen would take my vote away, but a whole board did. But I came back here because I wanted people to know that sometimes you get cheated, but you are never defeated unless you defeat yourself. You get back up. And that's what I learned from all of my ancestors that were here yesterday. I mean, and at the meeting and the hearings, is that you get back up. They've been making this noise about not appropriating this name for a while, but people were not hearing them. They're getting a lot more coverage now. And I think it's our duty to make sure that their stories are heard just like other people's stories are heard, and that we value the cultural name and the significance of the Homer G. Phillips Hospital. The hospital sits right now, the building where Mr. Homer G. Phillips himself picked for it to happen. And he lost his life before it was built. And this honorable board, many moons before us, we rushed in and passed a naming, and we named it Homer G. Phillips. It was brought up by Mr. Piggy that, well, that was all white board. It sure was. And they listened to the Black community and named it. So I don't care what color they were following what the people in the community wanted. And that's what the community wanted. And so I honor that board for doing that. And that's why I introduced it on the floor of this board, is to follow up to say that we have a stake in how Homer G. Phillips was named, and that we have a stake to honor people who have a rich culture and history. And the Ville is one of those places. And Homer G. Phillips, I am in awe of the things that I've learned about him. And I would ask all of you all to join in passing this resolution on the second passage, and so that we can send it to Mr. Paul McKee and his board of directors, of which I have a list of people.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 18th, you had your hand up.
Yes, I would just like to say Homer G. Phillips, Attorney Homer G. Phillips lived in the 18th and he was assassinated in the 18th ward. I grew up in the Ville area myself. I got treatment at Homer G. Phillips. I went to school at in the 18th ward. Farragut Elementary was my first school. Then I went to Turner in the 18th ward. I had the great opportunity to teach at many schools in the 18th ward, just to name a few: Simmons Elementary, Turner Middle. We set up a program called the Mega Magnet School, which consisted of Simmons Elementary, Turner Middle, Marshall, and Sumner. So I had opportunity to teach there, as well as Williams Middle School. So I have had a great experiences, and as represented as the alderman for the 18th ward, I go on record saying that the name should be changed, and that that name should not be used. Again, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Board of Aldermen and women.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 21st.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I want to express my feelings on this issue and topic. Yesterday, the alderman from the 1st said something that stuck with me, and something I'm still thinking about even right now. Yesterday, our colleague said that sometimes the current generation tries to honor the generation before us, and we do it in a way that is completely opposite of our intent. And Alderwoman, that's something that I heard, that I realized, that I recognize, and something that I appreciate. But for me, I think the big thing in the big picture is finally having a healthcare center in North St. Louis, regardless of what the name is or was or what it is intended to be. I personally believe that the development taking place along the Jefferson corridor, not only the NGA, but with this urgent care facility, is something that our community needs and has been deprived of for so long. And that's why, for me, the name is not as important, but that can be seen as invalidating the generation before me, and I recognize that. It reminds me of the Michael Brown protest movement. We often had a quote, and we would always say, "This is not your mother's civil rights movement. This is different. This is an oppressed people's movement. This is a younger movement. This is a Joshua movement." We had so many different narratives that we would use to try to separate and divide what we perceived was our struggle from the struggle in which our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents went through, which was probably insensitive, inappropriate, and harsh. But that was not the intent when we were saying that. That was not the intent. Our intent was to only recognize and solidify our feelings on this issue today. And that's what this issue reminds me of now. But I recognize the heartbreak of the people who played a gigantic role in the Homer G. Phillips Hospital. Something me and my sister, State Representative Kimberly Ann Collins, something that we disagree on, and we disagree on a lot of things. We even had this conversation with my mother, with my aunt, and with our grandparents. We had this conversation at the table, and we just talked about our differences with this particular name. And I would believe that my grandmother, who worked at Homer G. Phillips Hospital, would definitely be against this. I absolutely believe that. I believe my grandfather, who worked at Homer G. Phillips Hospital, would be against this. But
we're having a real hard time. I don't know if anybody else is having a hard time hearing you, but it's really hard to hear you consistently. I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you, Alderwoman. Can I be heard now, Mr. President?
Yes, yes. You fade in and out, but yes, yes.
Okay. I apologize, but basically, I appreciate the work that Alderwoman Tyus has done to keep the history of the Ville neighborhood intact. But I do believe the best way to honor Homer G. Phillips is to continuously spread his legacy, not only in the Ville, but throughout this entire city that he has helped shape and cultivated. Again, I do understand a frustration that people have, and I will not invalidate them, but I do just want to say that I think that we are focusing on the wrong thing, just for me personally. But that should not mean that anyone who feels that this is a discouraging move or inappropriate move is wrong in their sentiments. But it's also important to recognize and understand that this board of directors that has chosen this name, I believe 11 of them, and I could be wrong, and I'm pretty sure that the alderman from the 5th can correct me, but 11 out of 20 that sits on the board of directors, 11 of them are Black. And I believe those 11 people come from North St. Louis, and some come from the 4th Ward or the Ville neighborhood or the Greater Ville neighborhood. I think that is important to note and important to understand as well, because they feel like they are doing something good to honor this community that they come from, this community that has shaped their lives, the community that most of them have not left at all. But again, I just wanted to express my sentiments just for transparency, because residents have reached out to me and asked, where do I stand on the issue? And again, my standpoint is we have a healthcare facility in North St. Louis. And I know this is something that Alderwoman Tyus was working on. I believe the first Alderwoman to even mention bringing urgent care or a healthcare facility to North St. Louis. And we're finally seeing that take place today. Again, I think it will look better on Natural Bridge and Fair. That's just me. But I definitely don't want to invalidate the feelings that people have, because that would be inappropriate. But I did want to express my sentiments on this issue. And again, to the Alderman from the 1st, what you said yesterday in the Health and Human Services Committee is something that I recognize and something that I'm appreciative of for you saying. But again, to me, the bigger picture is quality access to healthcare in a neighborhood that does not have it. Quality access to a healthcare facility that we have been deprived of since the closing of Homer G. Phillips. While this is no Homer G. Phillips Hospital, this is not a 300+ bed hospital. It is a start, and I believe that if we do this right, and if we set ourselves up for continued growth in North St. Louis, then we can see Homer G. Phillips come back, whether that's in the 4th Ward, what we know today, or I believe it will be the 10th Ward, the 10th or the 12th Ward, from what we just passed earlier today, whatever it is. I believe that if we do it right, and if we are bold in our convictions, then we can see this hospital come back to the Ville neighborhood. I do want to say that. And again, I appreciate what you said yesterday, Alderwoman Tyus. That's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alderman from the 21st, Alderman from the 3rd.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Please proceed, Alderman.
I try to make this brief. So the north side, of course, has for some time gone through a lot of travesties. We all know that we got problems, right? Our ward looks like, bombs came through it. Not a lot of our wards. Like we sure got to have built up buildings that have fallen down, that have been there for hundreds of years and look like something. But now, things are falling apart. We've done the best that we can to upkeep our area. Our mothers and fathers who were in these areas some time ago bust their behinds to try to keep up with mortgage, keep up with the upkeep of these brick buildings. I'm sorry, I had a call coming in, and just do the best that they can to keep the neighborhood a neighborhood. Not only does this take time, it takes a lot of expenses, and it takes history at the same time. Everybody wants to make Paul McKee the bad guy. And I'm not finna defend this man, but I just want to lay some stuff out because I'm tired of everybody laying into the initial plan or project and not the history of how it is we got to that particular point where that plan or project was even a plan that we could create for a project to exist. I got people who live in my area right now who were the first families to move into the areas where white people used to exist in. Not just being realistic. Banks have not done everything that they have in areas that were not predominantly Black to incentivize us to upkeep some of these properties. Also, things have taken skills, skilled labor. And, throughout history, since St. Louis has been St. Louis, let's just be real. St. Louis became St. Louis in 1764. It wasn't even America back then. We can go through a lot of history, but one of the things we can be consistent on is since we all have been here and people have served this board, that North St. Louis has been left out of a lot of the appropriations. We've been left out of a lot of the development. We've been left out, period, when it comes in just in terms of getting our trash picked up and just being serviced. Those things are realistic. The question is, and we keep laying into Paul McKee, and I got a point that I'm getting to with all this. If Paul McKee wasn't there, right, the 1,300 parcels he owned, all the other stuff the man does own, with the tall grass and the buildings falling down, does it outweigh the amount of properties that we own in the city that are falling apart? Would the north side still be in the same disarray that it has been prior to him ever acquiring one property? The answer to that is right around the corner from where he does not own any properties at. This ain't on one man. This ain't on one white guy. This is on a lot of them. The city was created or indoctrinated, or however you want to call it, in 1764. Make sure that is right. I gotta be 1,000. 1764. Slavery was abolished in 1865. Right around 1899, somewhere around there. I'm sorry, a little bit before that, the Louisiana Purchase happened. So, there's a lot of things that happened in between all of that created the disparities that exist today. This land that we're talking about, number one, it ain't Paul McKee's. It's ours. It's Black people's. It's Native Americans, the individuals that people stole land from before there was ever an America here. So when we come forth to where we are today, of course, we're going back for, I won't dig too deep into that because we could get very, very intricate with that. Those are conversations that we haven't had as a board that we should, because things are changing. And as they change, we need to realistically talk about where this land came from, who really owns it, who did own it, where a lot of our laws came from and things that we need to remove. But we're not going to keep bashing Paul McKee for the entire decline of the North Side. I don't have not a dime from Paul McKee, but I'm tired of people just going at him when it's not just him. there's a lot of individuals who helped create the decline of the North Side. People say it's my family, that family. There's no way, no possible way that we can name one white guy, just like we can name one black guy, for the demise of what has happened through centuries of displacement and misrepresentation in the city of St. Louis before it even was owned by the Americas. So let's just be realistic in what we got going on right here. This is us looking at our history and saying, hey, we want some of it back. I'm not blaming Paul McKee for all of the things that happened in the city, but for this resolution in general, I will say that when enough people speak up, I don't know everything about the history that existed here in St. Louis. I learned about Pierre Leclerc before I ever knew about Homer G. Phillips, and that's unfortunate because that man never did nothing for my life. I went to a Homer G. Phillips hospital. I don't even know nobody who knew Pierre Leclerc, but that's what we learned in school. You put all of our kids through all of this education that does not involve us learning about who is supposed to be the individuals we learned from that used to look like us, that created the situations that are involving us right now. All these things that we have created and invented, that most of our kids are growing up flipping a light switch, not even knowing that it wasn't Thomas Edison. Like, I mean, just these things are important for our people to know who it is in our community that actually did things that help us evolve to where it is that we are today. So yes, that name is important. I'm not saying that we shouldn't build the hospital, but I am saying that if there's enough individuals, because I didn't know everything about Homer G. Phillips, my father used to talk to me about things, but when you get enough information from all of these different individuals that are telling you how important your history is, and that was around a time when we weren't even around, that's something to look into. It's something to be curious about. It's something to learn more about and ensure that you do honor your ancestors with the decisions that you make. And you try to create a platform and some type of a foundation for the individuals like ours. Like, we're trying to go up and grow these children and tell them that we did great things along the way. And these are people who can precede you in the things that you want to do in the future. We got to have something that they've done that these children see that is worthwhile for following. So right now we're arguing about particular things realistically that, you know, there's not even enough information out of our children, our schools, other places to know who is Homer G. Phillips, who is this man, what he did for us, why it is we're arguing about this as the Board of Aldermen, so we can realistically make some type of a resignation with it, where even if it does end up being this, and I didn't even know that we weren't giving the family some money, you know, we'd be giving them family some money, you know, off of what it is, because it's in a predominantly Black area. We the ones that get shot around her. It's messed up to say, but it's the truth. It's 90% Black around her where that hospital is. We the ones that's going to be visiting until the NGA is complete with what it's doing and all the other developments going on. But we the ones that's going to be visiting that hospital. And we were also the ones who were always at the Homer G. Phillips Hospital, from my understanding. So, you know, if we are going to keep it that name, maybe we need to be looking at that name. I'm sorry. Maybe we need to be looking at making sure that that family had some type of a residual coming off of the income that's created there, and whatever happens, you know, within that area, because that is paying homage to them. Maybe we, you know, and if that family wants to create some type of a fund that helps the community, then that's another way we get to a point where we all are working with each other. Because without the Black lives who were out there advocating for Homer G. Phillips, there wouldn't have been a name that was suggested, because it wouldn't have the popularity that it has. It wouldn't be something we'd be talking about right now. So there is most certainly an importance somewhere in that name, and my generation hasn't been advocating. Well, I'm not going to say all of them, because there are folks that have. There are plenty of us that have, but when it comes down to us looking at the way that we advocate right now and all over social media, and you got people marching and things like that, the things we didn't do to where the you know, most of us aren't really paying attention. So while we all are talking about this, you know, it is important, especially when my individuals who I look up to and individuals who I know have knowledge that I may not, are speaking about the importance of us keeping up with, you know, our history in regards to individual people who actually were and should be considered proteges or not proteges. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry, I'm missing this word. It sucks.
Leaders.
Leaders. All right, it was another word I was looking for, but leaders of our time. I see. There it is. That sums it up. But leaders of our time, we're trying to follow behind those individuals and find out why they were leaders. Right now, our generations are lost because we don't have many leaders. We're still looking at Al Sharpton individuals that's 20, 30 years old. And that's not to say that man ain't doing his thing, but when is it going to be a time where you see these young individuals that everybody's saying is out of control have looked up to individuals who have looked up to other individuals and said, hey, we came from something. This is where we came from. This is where we're going. Right. So I am in support of the resolution. I am not in support at all of not having this hospital here, but I'm more I just want us to have a conversation. When it gets to points like these, it is good to have a conversation. If we're going to keep it the name, these families should have some type of a kickback for it. Period, point blank, because it's that important for our community to know. Just like you see Nike, you see everything else that's a brand, they getting paid off that. You can't just go build something and slap Nike on it and say it's a Nike boat. They're going to hit you if enough people see it, and you're going to get hit with infringement or something. So we have that same opportunity to trademark our names and put things that are important to the Black community on the map and say there can be 1,000 Homer G. Phillips, just like there's 100 Mercies or this or that. But if that's what it's going to be, pay us homage and let the community know as we drive past it, as history goes on, that this is what it is. Everybody know white people own Nike. Let us find something when it comes down to hospitalization. Like we just saw the first picture of a Black fetal baby. Most people ain't never seen it. All my books were of, these are things that are important for our psychology, for our psyche, for us being here. You want Black people to do better. You want these young men to act better. You want us to do better in our communities. Then we have to see individuals that have done better and individuals whom we have utilized to help move our lives forward, and individuals who we consider leaders as a community that we all can consider leaders and say, hey, we can follow behind that. That's what we all are looking for. These are one of those names that we can brand. These are one of those names that should be branded. And if there's going to be a brand in one of the most profitable parts in the entire north side of St. Louis, then maybe that family and individuals who have worked hard to keep that brand alive should be getting something for it. I talked a lot. I'm sorry. Peace. I already know. I'm sorry. I yield, Mr. President.
All right, thank you so much, Alderman from the 3rd. We have the Alderwoman from the 4th. Alderwoman from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I had to unmute myself.
That's all right.
Okay. Whew. I understand exactly where Alderman Bosley is coming from with compensation for at least the name, the branding of the name. As to my comment to Alderman Muhammad of the 21st Ward, the name Homer G. Phillips may not be of importance to you, because I don't know if you have had any affiliation with Homer G. Phillips. I had an older sister who had 7 operations from Homer G. Phillips. At that, she was in her 20s. And at that time, they told my parents they did not have to pay her hospital bills because they did a lot of exploratory surgery on her. I have an affiliation with Homer G. Phillips way before I became Alderwoman of the 4th Ward. Homer G. Phillips I feel is a name that is synonymous with Ward 4. And I would like to see that name stay in the 4th Ward. I get emotional because of my affiliation with Homer G. Phillips. And what I'm trying to say is, just because certain people don't have that affiliation, there's no need for them to try and take it from the 4th Ward. I, at this time, am emotional and my words are not coming to me the way that I want them to come.
You're doing well, Alderwoman. Take your time.
I just, like I said, agree with what Alderman Bosley said about if you're going to take our name, there should be some compensation for the branding of our name. And I don't want to see it leave the 4th Ward for a number of reasons, because there's history here. Far more history than I can comment on at this time. And that's just how I feel at this time. I was against them naming the hospital a 3-bedroom hospital after Homer G. Phillips, even though some, all the people say, well, it's just showing homage. Well, the 5th Ward, you could show homage to that medical facility by naming it after Wendell Pruitt, one of the Tuskegee Airmen, instead of Homer G. Phillips. And I'm going to leave it at that because we've been on here a long time today. And if something else comes up that I want to say, I'll raise my hand again.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Alderwoman from the 4th, for your passionate testimony. Alderman from the 23rd.
Yes. Will the Alderwoman from the 1st pose for a question?
Alderwoman from the 1st will yield the question to the Alderman from the 23rd.
Yes, I will.
Alderman from the 23rd, please proceed.
Thank you. And you know, I appreciate you. So my question is, because I'm getting confused more so than anything. This is about the naming or not naming. I know it's not about not putting this facility there. And maybe help me in my confusion, but it just seems like it's more about what that facility should be called. I don't think that anybody is saying that it's because they're putting this on Paul McKee's property that there's any difference there. I think we all want some sort of medical facility up there. So is this, because I guess I've been mixed, is this about not putting that name Homer G. Phillips on it because the facility isn't very large and isn't very representative or doesn't really pay, is that pay homage to his name? Is it that it should be a better one, or is it that if they're going to use his name, the same as if you would use any name, that there would be a branding that that they would pay for the use of that name? I guess that's my confusion, and I appreciate you, and you know I'm with you. I got 2 friends that have spoke on this. So I've been multiple friends, but you and then Alderman Muhammad. So just for my own confusion, and I don't know if anybody else got confused in this or not. My understanding is not about building this. It's going to be built. That's the hope. It's about the naming, and if it's named one thing, should they be paying for that name? I guess if you can just clear that up for me. And I realize this is just a resolution, but it's just, I think maybe for me and for anybody else that might be getting confused in all of this. So that's, I guess that's my question. I'm just asking for a little more, and giving you the opportunity to maybe, I know you probably close on it with a little more, of what this is. But after I hear everybody talk, I'm really confused. It seems that some people don't feel it should be named Homer G. Some people feel it should. Some people feel that if it is, then they should be paying for the branding of the name Homer G. And if you could clear that up, and that's just not only for me, but for whoever else is confused. And I appreciate it. And that's my question. And it's, I guess it's, I'm just confused, which is normal.
Can I answer, Mr. President? Okay. Thank you, Alderman, for asking the question, because it is getting jumbled up somewhat. The entire process to me was flawed. When they decided they were going to sit down and decide this was a name, they actually talked to people in the 5th Ward and the surrounding areas. They didn't talk to the people in the Ville and the greater good of people who live around there and other people. They didn't talk to the Black Nurses Association. They didn't talk to the Black Doctors Association. They didn't talk to anybody who had long-term affiliation with the Ville. And I'm going to give you an example. Suppose somebody decided we want to take the name The Hill, and that we don't care about what you say the Hill is. We're going to now call this The Hill, okay? Or let's talk about something that, ooh, is dear to my husband's heart. St. Louis University High, he's a SLU High boy. If you take and tell him you're gonna put CBC on that school and you're gonna put St. Louis U High on CBC, you would have a fight, okay? We talked about earlier about St. Mary's High School and all the pride that the people feel there. I got that. When I went home for Thanksgiving, my Warren Buffett's son lives in Decatur, and to his great, he thinks he's doing great things. He tore down both my grade school and my junior high school, which were beautiful buildings that stood on the hill. Now, my mother didn't go there, so she didn't care. Me and my sister were bawling our eyes out because you tore my school down, because you have a love of that history. So for me, I wasn't born at Homer G. Phillips, although I know so many people that were. I don't have the history of living here all these years. I mean, of being born there, but I've lived in the North St. Louis neighborhood now since 1986. And I've been hearing about the Ville, Homer G. Phillips since 1975 when I met my husband. And I've been there. I've been to Homer G. Phillips, the building. I watched I was here when they rehabbed it into a senior citizen building because it was so important to them. So it is not for me about naming rights, although that could be another ancillary situation that you get into it. Right now, it is, you didn't do this right. You came and you said, oh, and Daryl Piggy did not say, so, because there I heard the alderman from the 21st Ward saying, oh, it was 7 or 8 people, 20-some people. That is not the testimony, Mr. Piggy. Let me say again, Mr. Piggy said, he used the name and I thought of the alderwoman, I'm sorry, the former committee woman from the 4th Ward, Norma Leggett. She used to always say, big I, little you. Big I. In other words, Daryl Piggy was dug in because he did that. And everybody there at that hearing will tell you, I know Daryl for a long time, and I really chided him and I counseled him that he should get out of his feelings and stop being arrogant and think that he's more important than the community at large. So it was not to be about money, although that is a valid point. It was not to talk about against Paul McKee, because really nobody came. Maybe there was a few people who had a bone to pick. They made it very clear they were not opposed to this building, which is already built, by the way. They were opposed to appropriating that name. How would you feel if somebody came and said, I'm going to name my son Joe Vaccaro Jr.? Your wife might feel some kind of way about that, okay? I know I would feel some kind of way if somebody said, this is Sterling Samuel Miller, and showed up, okay, unless they got a blood test, and then he's going to get a divorce. But other than that, you feel some way about that. So what I have done as I've aged is I got a appreciation for the people who came before me. When I see Alderman Bosley talk, the person who gave me so much of my history at the Board of Aldermen was another Alderman Bosley. That was my friend. I love him. He gave me so much history. People try to act like history doesn't mean anything. It does mean something. A lot of what Alderman said, Bosley said about them not knowing stuff is because you didn't properly teach Black history. You haven't taught it in the schools. I never got it until I was a senior in high school. So a lot of stuff you don't know that what Black people did because it was covered up and hid, because we had a culture, if we got to get deep into it, that wanted to say that Black people were inferior. So how you do that is you keep their history away from them. The Italians have put up with that. The Irish have put up with that. Different people, cultures, as they came to America, there were other cultures that tried to put them down. One of the things that you pass on to your generations is your history, your rich history, and Black people do it verbally. We don't know about intellectual property. Sharon Tyers does, because again, I'm standing on the shoulders of all those Black people before me. So I got to go to WashU and I got to learn about intellectual property and that you can actually take your name and make profit off of it. But that's not even where we were at this point. Where we were at this point is that this is something that's so important to the Ville neighborhood, and that Mr. McKee, at the, I think, arrogant suggestion of Darrell Piggy, because he did not say the rest of the people did it. Mr. Piggy thought that he was so important that he could speak for the neighborhoods and for the community. And I did ask Mr. Piggy, have you ever been elected to anything? I can tell you the answer is no. Yet we got a mayor of the city of St. Louis. We got a president of the board of aldermen of the city of St. Louis. We got a comptroller. We got a lot of alder people. We got the people who are connected to this saying this is not a good idea. I counseled Mr. Piggy to say that sometimes you think you're doing something that's good, but you're not. So you have to learn how to step back. He said basically what the alderman from the 21st ward said, well, it was more important about getting the thing built. No, it's not. That may be to him and to Mr. Piggy, but it's not to the greater majority of the people who this is important to. Everything is not dollars and cents. If it was, I wouldn't be serving on this board for 30 years. I've been offered every kind of position, making a lot more money. So money is not everything, okay? The building is there. Your history and teaching it to your kids and teaching that pride and teaching those kind of things are very important, not just for Black people, for Italians, for Asian Americans, for Irish, for all these people that live in our city, so we can have a stew. Don't nobody want no strained vichyssoise, something like that. We want a stew with a lot of different cultures in it that we can appreciate. When people say, I don't see you as Black, oh, I don't see, that's an insult to me. See me as Black and then value my input. See Alderman Narayan as Asian American and value his input. So when this many people are saying this is not a good thing for me, do not discount that. My heart hurts when I heard Alderman from the 21st talk about that they were out there with Michael Brown trying to differentiate themselves from us. That is a mistake. I was there with Alderman, the president of the board, actually at one of the churches. And I talked at the church when Mr. Brown was killed because my father-in-law died the next day. When young people try to separate themselves from their history, that is a mistake. And I've been a young Turk. And when you're a young Turk, you think you know so much. And then as you get older and you learn the things that you don't know, it fills up the world. And that's why you need somebody who can sit you down and tell you these things. And so I was so fortunate as a young Turk. I had Congressman Bill Clay, State Senator John Bass, State Senator Jet Banks, Pearlie Evans, State Representative, then Senator Paula Carter, various state reps, as I said, Alderman Freeman Bosley, Alderwoman Mary Ross, Alderwoman Joanne Wayne, just all these people that poured into me things that I need to know that I had no idea. I was not a politician when I got elected. So, and I didn't grow up in St. Louis, so I didn't have any idea of the value. But over the years, from Alderman Sam Moore, he loved the first ward, just as the Alderwoman from the 4th does. Over the years, I may not have been born of St. Louis, but I am of St. Louis and North St. Louis. So when I don't want people to think that they want to separate from your history. If somebody's in your history that does something wrong, yes, separate from that. Like I don't separate from the Black Panthers. People go to Black Panthers. The Black Panthers brought us all kind of great programs like the food programs for mothers and children. So people didn't teach us that. So we have to learn that stuff ourselves so we don't let people give us negative things about our community, okay? So for me, don't take something positive out of my community. Right now, my ward, all the people who was part of the real 20th ward, they still call themselves the real 20th ward because what was done here was criminal and awful. And so they haven't stopped calling themselves the 20th ward because that's who we are. I don't care how long it's been down there. We are still the real 20th ward. If you watched Roots, you saw that a man came and his name was Kunta Kinte. And then they said, but your name is Toby. No, his name is Kunta Kinte to this day. So that's what many people who celebrate their history are trying to say to you. You don't just get to diminish my thoughts of how important these things are. And in fact, we haven't had these history lessons put on film and taught to us. That's why when Roots came out, we were all like this, watching it, because we hadn't had anything like that. And we are lucky that we have people who are storytellers, they're filmmakers who now tell our stories and tell other parts of it and tell positive parts of what has happened with the Black community. And one of them is Homer G. Phillips. This is a success story. And if you start taking things out and poo-pooing it, it just diminishes the community. We sued about, Minnie Liddell sued about our schools being equal and having equal access many years ago. And she started out with a lawsuit about, she wanted the schools in North St. Louis to get the same money and be fixed up and get all the same teachers and everything as the ones in South St. Louis and the county. And the courts ruled that she was correct and that should happen. But what did the courts do? They took our children out of our schools. They sent them out to the county. They sent them to South St. Louis. They diminished and demolished our community. And then they kept out in the county our scholars and our athletes. That was not what Minnie Liddell sued about. That was a vicious, horrible way the courts did that and took the money. If they had just done what she said, which was, we're proud of our schools over here, we just want them to be equal and give us the right money, we wouldn't have all these schools closed. One thing touches another. And a lot of times young Turks do not understand that because you are a young Turk. Because, hey, I'm important because I got elected. I came down here with 5 other people. We thought we was the cat's meow. Didn't know how much we did not know. So no, it was not about money at the time when I introduced this. It was about that there were so many people reaching out to me and saying, this is not right. It should be done something else, but not one of those people who came to testify yesterday, and it was a lot of them, said, oh, don't build a hospital or don't build even a 3-bedroom clinic, because there is a difference amongst people if it's a hospital or a clinic. In my resolution, I want you to know that I say, whereas Mr. Paul McGee proposal for a new medical facility in North St. Louis is admirable and supported in the community. We're not supporting the medical center. We're saying you cannot have this name. And if you do, you're gonna have a fight and we're gonna fight you the whole way. And I actually voted for the tax abatement and TIF that a lot of people who are on this resolution did not like and were not for. I did. But if he continues to fight for this name at the expense of my ancestors and the people who have put their blood, sweat, and tears, any dime that he wants. And I told Mr. Daryl Piggy this, I will fight every single dime, every single tax abatement, whatever he needs. All you say, you can't always have your way. Politics is about compromise. There's enough people who have a blood in this state that have said this is not a good idea, that for one man, Daryl Piggy, to come to a hearing and say, I did this and I took it back and I, go listen to it. It was not anything about no 20 people. He gave us 7 names, not 20 people. And those have just recently been added. They were not there on the board of directors when we looked this up. I actually, you know me, Alderman, I do research, okay? And so this 20 names and things that are coming up, I don't know where that came from. But Daryl Piggy himself, out of his own mouth, said he told Mr. McKee to do that. And I'm saying he is not the Black community. He's not been elected to anything. He's representative of himself. And as a good lawyer, he should go back and say, this is not a good idea, Mr. McKee. Now I will say, Mr. Fred, who was Fred Miller, who signed up, he did not say he came to oppose the resolution. They had him under the opposition, and he said, and he's one of the board of directors, he said, oh no, I didn't come to oppose this resolution. He came as the, he said, director of operations and to answer questions. So he did not testify, only Mr. Piggy. And when you get in your feelings and you start to feel so arrogant about you did something without listening to the community, that's a mistake, especially if you are an elected official, because I've had to change my position on things over times. But if you are a private citizen and a lawyer for somebody, you can take that stance. But Mr. Piggy and I had that very conversation. I want you to know this before the former 5th Ward Alderwoman lost and before the Congresswoman lost, Lacey. And I told him, Mr. Piggy, you have never been elected to anything. You are taking these stances that are against what the community wants. And if you're not careful, Tamika, the congressman, could lose. He said, oh no, that would never happen. I don't have to do. Well, let's go here a few months later, and that is exactly what happened. The community does not have to take stuff off of us. We are here to represent them. So I am here representing a community that I am adjacent to and I love, which is the Ville with the Alderwoman from the 4th. And I cried also, Alderwoman, yesterday. If you look at the thing, I cried to look at all the people who showed up in the middle of the day to say this is important to them. And I cried because I now am 65 years old, so I understand history and I understand how important that is. And today, when I heard people talking about the St. Mary's High School and the pride that they had, that is when you just take that and you make that even more so with the Homer G. Phillips entire story. That is so important that we keep that right there. And if anybody doesn't understand that, that's shame on them. And like I said, I have promised Mr. Piggy, don't do it. And I will be your worst enemy. And I don't mind losing, but I will be your worst enemy if you keep this name at the expense and disrespect of the Board of Aldermen, which we gave the original name to Homer G. Phillips and the community. And I told Mr. Piggy, since you did that, I hope you have any additional tax abatement and TIF, or don't ask for any more city money, because then you should be able to carry Mr. McKee across the line. Don't ask the board with this many people telling you that's not a good idea.
Thank you. I guess where my confusion came in is it seemed that when Alderman Bosley and Alderwoman Evans was talking, it almost seems like they were saying that name should be on there. But this is not about the name being on there. It's about them not using that name. It's not about not building. In other words, everybody wants that there. It's just not using that name. And I guess I understand the not using the name thing, because some, whatever, I have to be nice, or somebody will be on Facebook, they love taking my image and my name, changing something by one letter, making it look and act like it's me, and putting out a bunch of BS, and it's not me. And even yesterday, when I went to that thing at the Teamster Hall, the Democratic Republican, I stopped by there for a minute. They all thought it was, not all, but the couple I was talking to thought it was pretty funny. I didn't think it was real funny. I don't think it'd be very funny if I took someone else's name. And when I say that, they're saying, oh, Alderman Carroll's whatever. Well, you know what? I don't think when I send something to Twitter, apparently, as long as they do something that's a little bit different, apparently I could take anybody's image here and start making myself look like I'm them and put out all kinds of nonsense. So I do take offense to, and if they want to put a plaque on there, in memory of or something, but or I would agree with what Alderman Bosley said, use the name. If you're going to use the name, pay something. I know this is just a resolution, which is a very strong letter, and we have no control over what they ultimately do. But I just wanted to clear up because I was getting really confused in there. So I'm going to break it down very fast and then I'll just give up. So this is not about putting the name on there. It's about not using the name at all. And if you're going to use that name, use it on something that the neighborhood would deem more appropriate. If that's my understanding, and I'll kind of just stop at that. I just got a little confused because it started to seem like it was opposite of what I thought it was. So I'm gonna back off. But I do not like just one other real fast story, and I'll leave it at that. My mom and dad started New Orleans Snow Cone in 1952, but they didn't brand the name. They didn't register it. Everybody opened up New Orleans Snowball, and people were coming back on, well, I see you open a second and a third place in it. But the quality, it was different. So they ended up changing the name to Vaquero Snow Cone, even though they were the very first ones to bring the shaved ice because it was on their honeymoon in New Orleans. And, you ran into that. You see it even with the fight with the Amaghetti Bakery stuff, where the guy who has the name feels like the guy that was using the name wasn't, something was different that they didn't like. So, I understand all that. I was just getting confused in the message, but thank you. And I'm just going to back off. I'm going to mute myself, turn my camera off, and just listen.
You don't have to turn your camera off, Alderman. But you no longer have the floor, so you can mute.
Do you notice that my new picture makes my thing look like a business card? I was just looking at that. Looks like a business card. Anyway.
All right, Alderman from the 21st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Thank you to my colleague from the 3rd Ward as well. I agree with you. But Mr. President, I want to respond to my colleague from the 4th, Ms. Evans. I heard in your earlier statement, you said, I guess, Alderman Muhammad.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
In your earlier statements, Ms. Evans, you said, I don't believe Alderman Muhammad has any connection to Homer G. Phillips. I guess you must have missed earlier where I listed my affiliation in connection to Homer G. Phillips through my grandmother and my grandmother.
Bro, real check. Your mic going in and out. Like you talk, we can hear you, and then
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Again, my colleague from the 4th must have missed where I listed my affiliation in connection with Homer G. Phillips. You must have missed that. I encourage you to go back to this meeting and listen, just as I went back and listened to you. But please remember, I'm from the 4th Ward, just like you. I didn't move to the 21st Ward until I got out of college. I'm a 4th Ward baby. Grade school, middle school, in the 4th Ward. I converted to Islam in the 4th Ward. I shopped at Regal Market. I played basketball at Tandy's. I got my first kiss on St. Louis Avenue in Sarah. I walked those blocks with Sam Moore in 2007 and 2013. It was just me and one other person, and that's the president. So don't say I don't have a connection with Homer G. Phillips or a connection with the 4th. because that's absolutely wrong. I have a connection with the 4th Ward. And again, I encourage you to go back and listen to what I said earlier throughout this meeting. That's what I encourage you to do.
And I will.
Now to my colleague from the 1st, I'm so glad that we're having this conversation because oftentimes me and my colleague from the 3rd Ward talk about this a lot, how there is no, the cultivation of young Black elected officials down here at this board is non-existent, especially with the resignation of Alderman Kennedy, with the death of Alderman Moore. Their cultivation of young Black elected officials, like me and Alderman Bosley, in our 30s, is almost non-existent. The president can only do so much because he has to be partisan. He's on that dais. But on that floor, we don't have that. And oftentimes we go on different sides of the issue and it's an automatic attack. We don't sit down and talk to each other. I'm so glad this conversation is taking place because if we had that, what you had when you came, if we had that, if we had Greg Carter, if we had a Charles Quincy Troop, if we had a Freeman Bosley, if we had that on the floor, then I guarantee you things will be a little bit more different. So I appreciate what you're saying. I'm listening. I just want to say, don't get upset and don't attack when we don't see things the same way you see it. Because our generation is different. Just like the generation before you think differently to them. Continue to cultivate us. Continue to show us. And when we don't listen, do just like Alderman Moore used to do. Grab you by the ear, little boy, you finna listen. Do like Alderman Kennedy, well, you're gonna listen to me even if you don't want to. That's what we need to see, and that's what we don't have. I'm so glad that this conversation has went to this point and that we're able to talk about this transparently and openly. That's all I want to say, Mr. President. Thank you very much. I yield back.
All right, thank you, Alderman from the 21st, Alderman from the 3rd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to add on to that, I want to make sure that folks who are out here watching understand what you see is passion between us all. We are all out here representing individuals whom have put us in a position to try to represent their interests. And sometimes you will get and see some of us feeling different ways about the situation that is at hand, the vote that is there, or the particular board bill or decision that had to be made, because there are multiple people that we speak to, get information from, and are bringing that information back to in the same energy that it was given to us in reference to what decisions that has to be made. So in all due respects with everybody, we are all trying to get to that one particular place that unites us all so we all can say as a board, yeah, sometimes we on the same page. This time is awesome. Sometimes we won't be. But the conversation is never and should never be about whether or not, you know what, I won't even go in that direction. The most important piece to understand, once again, and what we're all experiencing right now, is that we're all trying to figure out how it is that we win in this situation. So our common enemy right now is not each other. Our common enemy isn't the discussion at hand or our disparities between each other, our miscommunication or miseducation or uneducation. Those things are not the product of what's happening right now. We're not the ones who have put this project in front of ourselves or the ones who allowed this project to happen. There are many, many different positions and people who've played a part to this being something that we all can have a conversation about right now. So when it comes down to it, just being realistic, just like anything else in America that has a history, when you got a history of doing something, you expect to sometimes get paid for that history. I know that the intent maybe didn't come off specifically for this board bill to be something that it's intended to bring some monetary compensation, which we don't necessarily have the authority to, with this being a private project, to say that, you know, those people need to have some compensation for the utilization of their brand. But, you know, when it just comes down to it, I'm not saying that this isn't a project that shouldn't happen. I think none of us are saying that, which we all have expressed. But just in the I guess in the light of this being a new embarkment for Black people, because slavery, that 400 years was supposedly ended in 2019. We've had Corona, haven't had really the best chance to get out here and enjoy that thing. Hey man, we are cultural folks. We bring culture to this nation flat out, and we ain't been paid for it. Plenty of nations take our culture and sell it on a black market, front market, white market, all these markets, and we get a little bit of money for it. White folks, red folks, green folks, all folks. Can we start getting compensated for what it is that we bring to the table, please, in this century? That's all I'm saying. You know, if you're gonna bring back a name that resonates with Black people because you know it pays homage to individuals and they probably gonna come and go to that hospital because of the name, and give these people the individual families who help sustain that person's sanity here in this country, because we didn't went through a gang of stuff back in that man's time. He was murdered. He didn't die from old age. He was murdered. So let's be serious. Not everybody was happy about Homer G. Phillips. Like, you know, our folks have went through a traumatic experience here in this country. So, you know, with those being said, we don't always have the ability to get out here and teach our kids about this or that and create some generational wealth. But this time, fortunately, has created and manifested a time in which we can do something at bare minimum to help start putting some money in our people's pockets, man. We shouldn't have $1 billion project on the side of town where everything's worth less than $10,000 and not be able to make the family whose name's gonna be on that $1 billion project millionaires. Now, I ain't saying the whole community, but no way. We got a $1.8 billion project across the street and these people can get a few hundred racks. So simple as that. You know, no, I don't think we need to change the name, but pay these people so Black folks can be like, all right, we got our thing, man. Y'all can't keep taking our culture and reparating us, bro. Flat out. It's not gonna keep happening like that. The reason we broke is because we keep giving up everything that we got and not asking for nothing in return. We just happy to see our name on the wall. Our artists, our actresses, our actors. We just happy to see our name in lights. We give me $1 million for $100 million worth of talent. Stop taking our talent and thinking that these generations won't rise up at some point in time and ask for some of our money back. This is one of those times, man. It's not saying we don't want it. We want it. Name it Homer G. Phillips, but help those people out who created the atmosphere where Homer G. Phillips is worth naming it Homer G. Phillips. And that's that man's family who kept him sane through all the things that the white people did and the Jewish people did and the French did and the Spaniards did, because it wasn't just white folks. Everybody want to just blame the white people who live in these areas, but it wasn't just them. We got to go through history. There's different types of white people who created the disparities that live in this city. It ain't just the ones from this ward or that ward or their ancestors. It's multiple ancestors, multiple different origins that created where we live. None of the people on the board that I know are German. None of them. Now, I ain't saying that none of y'all are German, but I'm saying none of y'all are German that I know of. And we living in these German towns, and supposedly 100 years ago, 200, 300 years, it was still slavery involved. So we don't talk about those things. And that's just being realistic. But what we are saying, though, in this day and age, with all those things that happen and individuals who have fought hard to create a name for themselves, because we ain't got 1,000 names. You don't see 100 Black names in this city as you drive down the streets and look at our street names. We see a bunch of slave owners. You look on City Hall walls right now, you see a gang of individuals who are slave owners or had some type of ties to slavery. So help us brand ourselves. Pay these people. I'm sorry. I yield.
Alderwoman from the 4th.
Alderman Bosley and all my former aldermen and women, I love you all. But it's not about them using our name and not getting compensated for it. It's about using our name, period. We don't want them using the Homer G. Phillips name out of the 4th Ward. That's it.
All right, thank you. Alderwoman from the 1st, you recognize close.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. The Alderwoman from the 4th has summed it up better than I could. For me, everything is not monetary. There are some things so much more important. I don't care how much money you give me. The answer is no. In politics, I often turn down money from people because it's not monetary. I don't take money from liquor. I don't take money from cigarettes because I don't do those things and I don't promote those things. So in this case, this is not a monetary issue. I can see how young people could get to that point, but it is not. It is about a respect of a culture. I'm part Native American. One of the things that Native Americans, they have a long history of respect of their culture and things that you do. African Americans do too, from over in Africa. So for me, this was a total disrespect that you would go and try to have a building named something. Don't talk to the people who already have it there. And as I said before, the committee man from the 4th Ward made the point very poignant and pointed out when he said, you can't move the Bevo Mill windmill and put it at Vanderveer and St. Louis Avenue and then said that's Bevo Mill. That is not the Homer G. Phillips Hospital, Memorial Hospital, or anything. It's not the Homer G. Phillips any place. And even more so, the fact that the man himself, before he died, picked that spot is disrespectful for anybody else to come along and think that they can do that. Now, of course, family members can get what's called intellectual property. And so Elvis Presley's family sells his name, Michael Jackson, all these people. But there are some things that are just not for sale. And so for me, the name is not for sale. And the whole process of how it was done was inappropriate, and that you knew better, that you was able to talk to the people in the 5th Ward, but not the people in the Ville and the people, the Nurses Association. You didn't contact Mound City Bar. You didn't contact anybody who had a long-term affiliation with the name Homer G. Phillips. That tells me you were doing that on purpose. And when Mr. Piggy came and testified, big I, little u, and then he had been telling something, putting something out there that wasn't true all these years about that it had to be only 3 beds in the beginning. And then when challenged, I made a mistake. And then he sent a picture here of the Homer G. Phillips Memorial Hospital, and he had it put on our Google Doc drive, but it was not correct. He is, to me, playing the Pied Piper and being disingenuous and disrespectful and untruthful. And then that makes me really feel uncomfortable about this project. I still am not going to go down over there on Jefferson and tear down that building that's already standing there. Nobody is saying that. We are saying we are not going to let you have the name. If you do, there's going to be a price to pay. We're going to keep this up. Not just going to be resolutions, they're going to be other things, and it's disrespectful. And what we're asking in this resolution is for them not to use the name, and to also come and have a conversation with the Board of Aldermen and some other people about why they want to use the name. What was pertinent that I guess I didn't say is that a group in the Ville had asked to meet with Mr. McKee, and he wouldn't. And I think that was under the advice of Daryl Piggy. And sometimes when you're a lawyer, you need to take yourself out of a case because you get too attached to it. And so you become part of it instead of standing down and doing what's best interest of your client. Mr. Piggy and his family, they own the NBC Lounge. He would have a fit if somebody started deciding that they were going to do something like that with that name. So I think that he's too closely associated. And I've told him that right to his face. I've learned so much about the Ville neighborhood. There's a book called The Black American Series, The Ville, St. Louis, written by John A. Wright Sr. America is woven of many stories. I have this book. I'm going to see if I can buy more of it and share this book with you because it's got so much stuff in it about the Ville itself, and all the people and wonderful rich history that came from it, and also about Homer G. Phillips. And when you look at the Ville now and you look at the problems, that's because that history was not honored, and because we let people come in and strip us of our history, strip us of our schools, strip us of our leadership. And so now we're saying enough is enough. It's not for sale. It does not belong any place but in the Ville. History is important. As you get older, you will find out. As I said before, I boohooed and cried because my grade school and my junior high school, which were right next to each other, is torn down. And we got this big, beautiful, modern building. And of course, the billionaire who built it thinks that's a great thing. But all of us who graduated from Washington and Johns Hill, we're like, our school is gone. And that is what you carry your history in your heart. And especially when people have given their life for something, to me, you respect that. If that was his wishes for you to come by and say, well, I want to sell this, or I can sell this name, that's not for you to make that decision. That decision was already made many years ago when he gave his life. So everything is not for sale. The name Homer G. Phillips Hospital is not for sale. It's not okay, even though we don't have the intellectual property, because that's what you do. But I hear some people out there under Mr. McKee and his group are trying to make that their name so that nobody else can use it, which is foul also to me. We're going to be watching that. And again, what we can do as a board of aldermen is when he comes back to try to do anything else, if he's not open to compromise, what we have to do all the time down here, then he will be fine to use his own money and that of Mr. Piggy's to do any other kind of incentives that he needs. We don't want that to happen. We just want you not to have to use that name. And that's what this resolution says. And I honor my ancestors. I honor the history of the Homer G. Phillips. And I'd ask for a due pass recommendation from this board on resolution number 138. And Mr. Homer G. Phillips, thank you for giving your life, and for the people who came here yesterday to testify. Thank you for all the people who came to testify, and thank you for all the people who've added their names to the resolution. I am honored to be a part of this fight, because you have to start someplace. And this is one of the things I want to tell young people that we got from you. The term cultural appropriation, I got that from the young generation. I never knew that term when I was growing up, but I heard young generations, when they've had people sample their music and do all these things, they said, hey, they are culturally appropriating us. So that I got from your generation, Alderman Bosley and Alderman Muhammad, and it is appropriate, cultural appropriation. I didn't know that. So thank you for me learning something from the young people. I will continue to learn from both those older than me than younger. And I will have to say, Alderman Muhammad, I take exception that you say that we don't train you, because anything you've ever wanted, or anybody down here, basically, if I have time, if you need some history, I give it to you, Alderman Bosley. I give it to you, Alderman Muhammad. I don't force it upon you, because people don't hear what they don't want to hear. But I share if people come ask me stuff, and it's not just the young aldermen, it's some of the people who got more advanced in age, but still ask me things. I try to share that. So if you feel like that you haven't got trained enough, sometimes young men need men to train them so they don't hear the female voice. But I've sat down with you many times, Alderman Muhammad, and tried to give you history of what's going on. So I really do take exception at that. And I want to close by saying that I'd ask for a due pass recommendation for the board bill resolution 138.
All right, it's been moved by the Alderwoman from the first. I'll entertain a second on that motion.
Second.
Seconded by the Alderman from the ninth, that we pass resolution 138. Resolution 138 out. There's been a request for roll call. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley.
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Page.
Present.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Aye.
Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Martin.
Aye.
Alderman Stevens.
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Peel. Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro.
Sorry, aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Aye.
President Reed.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer. I'm sorry, let me go back. Alderman Coder. Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Howard. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Peel.
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd. 22 aye votes and 1 voted present.
By your vote, you sustain the motion. Alderwoman and adopted resolution 138.
That's the extent of second reading resolutions.
Miscellaneous unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
Tuesday, December 14th, 2021, full board meeting, 10 a.m. via webinar. That is the extent of the announcements.
Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 26th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. This weekend, if you haven't had a chance to make it down to Winterfest yet at Keener Plaza, put on by Gateway Arch the Park Foundation. I am so proud to always brag about Pure Catering STL that's based out of the 26th ward, but also has the cafe and the History Museum. They have partnered up with our very own JR, the gourmet. Supporting him has been amazing by him being a youth from St. Louis. He supported St. Louis nationally with his catering and his cooking. So they have partnered for the official Winterfest cafe. It's amazing. But the other thing about tomorrow from 4 to 8, the Winterfest night market is going to be all minority owned businesses. So if you're still looking for ways to be intentional about how you spend your money right back in the community for your holiday gifts, shout out to Sophia's Crowns, I Am Lester, Fashion and Accessories, and a host of other businesses will be down there. So go down there and enjoy all of that. And then maybe you'll meet me on the ice skating rink.
All right.
That means you, President Reed. Come on.
Oh, okay. I can't ice skate. No, I can't ice skate. I ride my motorcycle in the winter, but I can't ice skate. Well, before we move forward on the announcements, the clerk said 10 a.m. on Tuesday, and I believe we are going to move that to 1 p.m. because of a scheduling conflict. Think about that while we finish the rest of the announcements. Alderwoman from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I just wanted to make sure everyone remembers that the St. Louis City Public Schools Board of Education is going to be presenting their legislative priorities tomorrow at Carnahan High School at 9 a.m. and it's not too late to join. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 23rd.
Yes, if anyone, I know there was one assigned to public safety today. if anyone feels that they need to have theirs heard before we come back on the 10th, please let me know. Otherwise, we will not have another meeting till after the 10th of January. So,
Right.
but if you feel you need yours heard before that, then certainly we'll have a hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I would, what we're trying to do so that we don't, so the staff actually get a break at the same time is not to have those committee hearings while we're on break. So, you know, I'm asking everybody, don't ask them for, don't ask them for a committee hearing, because our staff, they've been working 7 days a week and they need this break more, I mean, more than we do. So let's no meetings.
Then we will not be scheduling a public safety hearing until after the 10th then.
All right, thank you, Alderman from the 28th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to make sure everyone knows that the window walk in the Central West End continues for the next 2 Saturdays. So you can come out and enjoy carolers and carriage rides, ice carvings, assuming it's not 75 degrees the next couple of days. But just a lot of great festivities going on and a great chance to support our local businesses as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further announcements? Alderman from the 1st.
Mr. President, members of the board, I thought I heard the Alderwoman from the 28th said that she was volunteering to teach you how to ice skate over there at the rig. So if you, so all you got to do is just reach out, you know. So since we already got this lecture, then all you got to do is reach out to the Alderwoman from the 28th. She'll teach you how to ice skate. It's, you know, all of us are from Illinois, so you should already know how to ice skate anyway.
I never liked the cold, so I never did do it.
I thought that was Alderwoman from the 26th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm passing on that. Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on the motion to excuse. Alderman from the 10th.
He's not there.
I know, we're gonna go to the Alderwoman. Madam Clerk, do you have the list?
Alderman from the 22nd Ward.
He's not here.
No, that's who was excused.
Right, he's the only one I know.
Alderwoman from the 19th, would you like to make the motion to excuse?
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd like the motion to excuse the Alderman from the 22nd Ward for necessary absence.
Moved by the Alderman from the seconded by the Alderman from the 6th and the 4th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh,
No.
man, my speaker keeps breaking up at the same point in the agenda every. By your vote, you have sustained the motion of Alderman from the 19th. Now, Alderman from the 10th.
He's not here. It's got to be the Alderman from the 19th. 10th's not here.
Alderman from the 19th, you recognize on the motion to adjourn. And we are going to adjourn. Madam Clerk, please state the date and time.
It's Tuesday, December the 14th at 1 p.m.
All right. Alderman from the 19th, you recognize on the motion to adjourn.
This full board meeting until Tuesday, November 14th at 1 p.m.
December 14th. It's been moved by the Alderman from the 19th. Entertain a second on that. Seconded by the Alderman from the, I think it was 15th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. See you all next Tuesday. Have a great weekend and don't hurt yourself on those skates.
Well, we're coming to pick you up, Mr. President. We're going to all bring you out on the rink. It's no time like the present to learn how to skate.
Oh, no. See you later.
Even if we have to put him on a sleigh.
That's exactly right. We'll put him on the motorcycle. We'll put skates on the motorcycle.